call this meeting of the planning and zoning committee to order. First order of business
He needs a mic. He needs a
dated
mic.
August 17th.
He needs a mic.
For approval.
We're on TV.
There's been a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion or corrections to those minutes? If being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, minutes approved. The first order of business on our regular agenda is a special use permit application. It's to consider a request from Target Logistics for a 600-room crew camp facility located westerly plus or minus 0.2 of a mile from the intersection of 21st Street West State Avenue, northerly of 21st Street West. It's enclosure number 2 described in the pamphlet. At this time, Mr. Tracy Tews, who has had some interest in the property, is going to refrain from participating in this because of possible conflict of interest. At this time, I would ask the party presenting, Target Logistics, please can come forward and present your application, your request.
Good morning. My name is Joe Murphy. I'm the president of Target Logistics. Is that too close?
It's just fine.
Okay. With me today is Travis Kelly, our North Dakota manager, who's a resident of Williston. I'm also joined by our Chief Operating Officer, Brad Archer, our Vice President of Construction, Stan Katz, and our Vice President of Operations and Services, Daniel Hanshu. And we're prepared, among the 5 of us, to respond to any questions that you would have today. Our application obviously has been submitted. I'd like to take an opportunity to discuss a little bit about our company and then have Mr. Kelly address directly the issue of the hearing. The Target companies were founded in 1978. We currently own and operate 2,500 beds in the state of North Dakota. We operate those beds to what we believe are the highest standards of operation in the remote workforce housing business. We follow and respond to all North Dakota modular codes. We've worked closely in compliance with the communities in which we're located. And we feel we have a very proud record behind which we stand and which we bring forward for your consideration today. With regard to the particular property, we believe that there's going to be a great deal of movement towards Dickinson by the energy services companies. That there's going to be, we're anticipating by moving into Dickinson that we're going to be a solid partner in your growth and support of the community. And that by working with you, we'll be able to mitigate the dislocation that's going to occur because of this growth in energy services. With regard to the specifics of the location, I'd like to hand the microphone over to Mr. Kelly. Thank you.
Go over what we have in front of you today. We're proposing putting in a 600 bedroom lodge, single occupancy room, so 600 room lodge. We'll provide a rec facility for the guys there, also a dining facility where we'll feed the guys. It'll sit on about 10 acres on the property that is described. It'll be landscaped and in a fenced-in area with a controlled access point. We do have security on site, 24-hour security that'll be provided. What else to say about it there? That's about what we've got.
Well, for anyone who's seen one of our lodges, you know that we provide 3 meals a day. There's recreational facilities. There's also, of course, a contribution that the workers who live there are going to make to the community. They're going to eat in your restaurants. As good as our food is, eventually you need a change. They're going to shop in your stores. Obviously, we're paying property taxes, and every community we've worked with, we've worked a mitigation aspect into our approach so that we support the town or the city with which we're working in terms of contributions to mitigate the effects of what we bring to the city. And I don't know if you want to use those charts or you want to save those for the question and answer period.
No, we can pull them up. We brought some some pictures of what we're proposing here. Artist renderings of the proposed site.
And I think it's important to understand the life cycle of the camp and what we're looking to do. Obviously, we're building this in a location that we think is discreet and that we think will be, this is a eye-level view from the northwest corner, and it maintains the integrity of the area. You'll notice the buildings are all connected with an Arctic corridor. This is the highest standard of construction in the industry. As I said, we're in compliance with all North Dakota modular codes, which you find is very rare at this time. And we're very proud of the way this is going to look with the landscaping. We think it'll have a minimal impact. With regard to the life cycle of the camp, we have a commitment to return the property to the original so that it's available for use by subsequent residents, for housing, or for any purpose that meets with your approval. And we're very proud of our commitment to restore this land to its original condition, maybe a little better landscaping than it has now, but it'll be a very handsome site when we're done with it. And when all our units are built so that they can be moved, so after the temporary, after the temporary dislocation caused by the energy services boom, these will be packed up, moved away, and everything will be restored to its natural condition. I guess I'd open the floor to questions.
Is there anyone here who would like to have any comments, questions for?
Mr. Chairman, just for the benefit of the public, the posters or the renderings of that are included in your application materials. It might be beneficial if they put it maybe in the front of the dais here, just for the public to be able to see that as they want to make comments on that.
Would you like it there now?
If you'd like to do that, it'd be fine.
Can you see that? You want me to hold them up? Sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's, Mr. Jackson, go ahead.
Mr. Murphy, I've probably missed it someplace, either didn't hear you or in the written materials, but this is a special use permit request. There'd be a time frame attached. Are you asking for a specific time period?
I believe the request is for 2 years, is that correct? I believe at this time it's for 2 years. We'd obviously like to make it renewable, and I think it gives us a good opportunity to show what we can do and the contributions we can make to the town, and you'll be able to judge us in 2 years if we have the opportunity to come back and request a renewal.
Okay. 2 years seems like a short time period for that kind of investment.
Well,
You know, we're all speculating about how this boom is going to play out and population and all of that. How do you guys see that? How long do you think you'll end up wanting to be here?
That's, it's impossible for me to tell. I hope that it's a long-term commitment and a long-term partnership. Quite honestly, if we could get it for 10 years, we'd take it for 10 years.
You would. That says something right there. You would take 10 years if you could get it.
Yes, yes. Our understanding of the technology that's being used is still being developed, and personally, I'm not an oil services expert, but my understanding is the depletion curve on these wells is very steep and will require refracking every couple of years. That's what I've been told. So we expect that over the course of the next few years, there'll be a required need to go back into these wells.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned 2 years. Is that, you're pretty confident about the 2 years? And
We know that our original commitment is going to be between 3 and 5 years.
3 and 5 years? Okay. Well, forget about the 2 years, but in 3 to 5 years, if it was 5 years, at what point in time would you reclaim the property to what it was? How long after your commitment's done?
If we don't have someone to take that place, if the energy services boom has passed through and gone its way, we'll relocate it to another location, another basin. It might be the Ohio Utica Basin, might be the Marcellus, could be down in Texas in the Eagle Ford, where we're building a couple installations right now. So these buildings are valuable to us only when they're being used, in the sense that there's no profit in leaving them fallow here in Dickinson. So as soon as we're convinced that an appropriate business decision will be to move them, we would relocate them.
Now, the residents of the camp, do they have to sign a contract for a certain amount of time to be there
We sign a contract with their employer.
with their employer?
The initial contracts, usually, the basis for the anchor tenant, for lack of a better word, is a 3-year contract.
Uh-huh.
And within that 3 years, we may sign shorter contracts with other companies, but we don't deal directly with the residents.
You don't deal, okay, do you know any numbers on who has a contract with the residents, actual residents, are they bound to that? Say we had a resident there, he's in there 2-3 months, and he wants to buy a house in Dickinson. Can he get out of that contract?
Oh, the individuals
Right.
certainly can come and go as they like. That's a condition of their employment.
Because, I mean, all in all, we want people who that come here to work, we would like them to be, residents.
For people who are long-term, it makes economic sense for them to look for permanent housing. This is a temporary housing, the economics of it don't work it'd be like taking a taxi cab from New York to Los Angeles. The economics don't work. But for a short-term stay, a short-term being 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it makes a lot of sense. If there's there will be some people who are looking for long-term housing in Dickinson right now, and there's some people who it makes sense to put in short-term. I think it'll actually take some of the pressure off the people looking for long-term housing in Dickinson if there's a short-term option available.
If you had, if you would develop something like this and you had 200 open rooms, what would you do with them? Would you lease them to other people outside of the oil industry?
We would market them, and we would look at anyone who is interested in staying there. We don't really deal with individuals. We deal with corporations. They have to be of significant credit to move in. Most of our clients are Fortune 500. In fact, I think all of them are. Some of them larger. And we don't want to get in a situation where we have transients, people staying for 1, 2, 3 nights. It would have to be a long-term commitment. It would not be run as a hotel operation.
Okay,
Not sure if that addresses your question, but.
that does. Any other questions, comments?
I have one for Mr. Murphy. The question I have is traffic. You have 600 people moving in there. They're doing shift work. I would assume 200 are leaving and coming and going on a regular basis. How do you handle that traffic on the type of street structure that we have in place right now?
Our anchor tenant has made a commitment to a busing program. It's similar to the one we run in Tioga and we're running in Williston right now, so that when they go to and from work, they're not going in their individual cars, they're going in a bright yellow school bus that says Target Logistics on the side. We run them up and down the highway, and it limits the traffic to a significant extent.
Are you going to restrict the streets that they take or the roads that they take in nature, in and out of the city?
Our buses
Your
certainly
buses?
will. The location helps with that. I think the location gives excellent access without having to go through downtown. But our buses will go on the safest, clearest routes and not add to a traffic problem. They'll mitigate a traffic problem.
Because my concern is right now, we do have somewhat of a traffic problem on 21st Street. That's my concern right now. I do believe that a man camp is needed. It's just being strategically located right. To handle
And I think-
traffic and things like that.
I apologize, I didn't mean to talk over you. But the reason why I think it'll mitigate the traffic effect is you have a lot of people living in hotels right now, driving trucks. and they take those individual trucks to and from work. Our goal is to get those people from the hotels into our lodge and put them on buses, so that you have less traffic after we build this lodge than you do today.
What percentage of the people that we live in there do you think would be on the buses?
For their work back and forth, I would say it would be 90%. And the exception would be maybe supervisors who don't want to ride the bus, or people who have jobs that aren't conducive to bus transport. But the companies direct their employees that they have to be on the bus. That's part of their job. And we provide the busing service.
By buses, how many people could you handle on each bus leaving? Is it a 20-man bus, 30-man bus?
Apparently, it's a 33-man bus.
Okay.
Mr. Kelly actually has all the answers. He's just-
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Moss, Ms. Mossbacher?
If this is shift work, how many shifts will you have? Will it run day and night, the shift work?
I would think the shift work would depend on the clientele. Our operation really is a 24-hour operation, in that there's always food available. At 3 o'clock in the morning this morning, we were serving breakfast. So we make sure that if someone comes in the middle of the night, they're fed, and there's someone there to greet them and to serve them food. The actual breakdown of the shifts would depend on the employer, who we contract with, and who contracts with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have insight into that?
Yeah, I can provide some historical, I guess, from what we're doing now.
If-
I mean, not talk to you with my back to you. I was just going to provide some historical through the 3 facilities that we have up now with the shift work. It is a 24-hour operation, as Joe said, but most of the guys are working shifts about 7 to 7 is what we're seeing. So 7 o'clock in the morning, they're getting up, they're going out. 7 o'clock in the evening, they're coming back, and the shifts are changing at that same time. So that, that's kind of the peak area of changeover. So you're not getting, the buses aren't running at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning constantly, So those will be the heaviest times.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I have a question about, you've gone through a fairly extensive list of how you're going to manage the personnel in the camp through that code of conduct. Have you done anything with the cities themselves as how the people are going to interact? I mean, if I was in a camp for 3 to 5 years, I'd like to know what's going outside that camp. I might want to go hunting, I might want to use their facilities at the rec center, or whatever they have. What have you done to interact with the city to facilitate these personnel, these guys are going to be working 12 hours a day, to make their lives a little better?
Yeah, I can answer that. Things that we've done in Williston specifically, actually just last weekend is a perfect example. They had the Williston Basin Energy Festival, where they celebrated the 60th anniversary of oil being discovered here in North Dakota. We actually fed for that celebration. We prepared to feed 10,000 people at that celebration. And we got our guys involved by inviting them out there, handing out flyers, so they have information what's going on in the community. We also have people that come up from the Williston Tourism Board, pass out flyers, spend some time at our camps, meeting with the guys, talking to them, getting them involved in the different events that are going on there. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, does Target Logistics own the entire property on which this facility is going to be located?
Yes, the entire lot.
And do you own it all the way to 21st Street, or?
I don't know, it's the entire acreage that we're talking about. I'm not sure the dimensions.
it looks like there's an approach road coming from 21st up to where your property is going to be, and I'm just curious whether you own that property for that approach road as well.
The answer to that question is yes. It's actually owned by a subsidiary of Target Logistics, which we formed to hold the real estate, but it's 100% owned by Target Logistics.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kovac?
Mr. Murphy, is there any specific reason why you chose this location, or did you look at any other location?
Actually, we looked at a great number of other locations. We felt that this location offered proximity to the utilities. We thought it was an excellent site in terms of being able to be discreet and caused less disruption. We thought the highway access and road access was very strong in that we could avoid creating traffic issues in the downtown. And we felt that overall, it was the best piece of property that we looked at in Dickinson that answered all our needs and met with the town's needs the best we could.
Mr. Chairman, I have one other
Go
question.
ahead.
I'm assuming that Mr. Tooze owned the property. There's a farm there, or a farmstead, the old Flippy house. Are those people that live there now, is there anybody living there, first off? And are they okay with this?
Yes.
Okay.
The old farmstead, I don't know.
And they would be adjoining this piece of property, right, Tracy? And they're okay with?
Yes.
Okay.
What type of external lighting do you have on the property? Is it non-evasive? Is it going to remain on the property, the lighting?
I'm sorry, when you say remain on the property?
The light itself that
Oh,
shines
yes.
out from the bulbs or whatever?
Oh, right, yes, I apologize. It's designed to be, to provide light. It's very modern light system. So it's designed not to reflect into the sky. I'm sure it's LEED certified to use the least electricity possible. And it's designed to illuminate the camp, just the property that the lodge is sitting on. We do an extensive lighting plan because it's a safety hazard issue, and we have to make sure we're in compliance and our insurance company signs off on it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
I'm grateful for the opportunity that you've given me and a thorough hearing that you've given our company and our project. And I can tell you that we would do everything in our power to be an excellent partner with the city of Dickinson. I think this is, as Mr. Elkin said, I believe this is needed. I think it'll answer a lot of problems that otherwise would occur. And I think that it's a solution that works for Dickinson and works for Target Logistics. So thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Do you want to leave those up there in case?
At this time, I'd ask if there's anyone else in the public who would like to make comment on this. This is a public hearing, so it is open to public comment. And at this time, I'd ask if there's someone who'd like to make comment on this. Please feel free to come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mike Mouse, being in opposition to the proposed special use permit, speaking today on behalf of Nancy Haroff, Jan Perkel, Dorothy Riddle, Arthur Riddle, Kurt Riddle, Keith Riddle, Les and Marlene Frenzel, Joel and Jocelyn Lupo, Todd and Laura Tooze, Doug Decker, Mike and Robin Rabinius, and Dean and Jerry Kubis. We have a number of concerns with regard to this proposed special use permit. The main one is the location. Approximately 2 months ago, we were in here on a opposition to a zoning change, and at that time, the property was described as residential, and it's still residential. It is not hidden from view as sometimes indicated. If you look from either the New Coke subdivision or the Bullinger subdivision, it's going to look right into this. We believe that this type of camp should best be located in a commercial or industrial area. It's a misuse of the special use permit to just say, okay, we want a man camp here, let's give them a special use permit. Should go through the process of zoning and fit into the zoning ordinance. We have concerns about the dust on States Avenue, and we have concerns about the dust from within the camp. Over the last year or two, we've had a lot of dealings with oil companies with dust on the roads, and they say, okay, we'll water the roads, and they do. But an hour later, it's as if they didn't. It takes more than water to keep down dust with this kind of traffic. We're concerned about property values, and it's not just not in my neighborhood kind of thing. We don't want the city of Dickinson to end up looking like Watford City and Williston, and they may be offended by those comments, but that's a fact. This thing has to be somewhere where it doesn't affect the aesthetic quality of the city of Dickinson. I have here, and I'm going to pass around pictures of their camps in Williston. That's not a negative comment on Target Logistics. I'm sure they do the best they can. But it still doesn't add to the aesthetic quality of the city if you've got these camps set up all over the place. There's a reason why Williams County called a moratorium on these things. The other question, another question we have, they have 600 units, but they have 312 parking spaces. That doesn't seem to be adequate. They have applied for a special use permit for these 600 units, but they own 64 acres. Is your permit going to include the entire 64 acres so that they could expand this thing to 6,000 units? There's been no explanation of the rest of the use of the rest of that property. We also note that they have agreed to pay the city $400 per unit per year, which comes up to over a couple $100,000. And we hope that this is not being looked at as a source of revenue. It has to be looked at as to whether it's the right thing to do or not as a source of revenue. We have concerns about the safety, particularly on 21st Street. You know that both Dickinson High School and Dickinson State College for years have used their cross-country and track teams to train on that area. The road is narrow, and there's already traffic problems. You have two large vehicles meeting on that road. We're concerned about the drainage north and east of the proposed unit. It's a drainage area that's shown on the map. If it impedes the drainage, is that going to cause backup and cause problems flooding in some particular area? We understand this to be an open camp in the sense that it's not operated entirely by one company. Camps that are operated by one company, they have greater control over the use of alcohol, drugs, and problems within the camp. Finally, we question whether they're getting the cart before the horse. Do they need city facilities, water and sewer? If they do, shouldn't the property be annexed first? If it's not annexed and this camp is set up, what are they going to do for water and sewer, and so forth? So for those reasons, we're speaking in opposition to the proposed special use permit. Primarily, we don't believe the location is appropriate in a residential area. And that's not speaking against all crew camps. You know, the one in Freiburg is probably an ideal location. You don't find a lot of ideal locations around the area. If there are any questions, I would answer those.
At this time, there'll be none. Thank you. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment, please feel free to come forward.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, my name is Lloyd Schneid, and I live on 21st Street West. Now, some would say, I'm going to add, first of all, I would like to say that I'm not here in opposition to the concept of a man camp. I feel that it does provide a vital solution to some of our needs. I do feel that the location may not be correct based primarily again on traffic and safety. Some would say that I'm older and slower as I approach this portion of my life. I am here to tell you that when you enter traffic on 21st Street, you had best be alert at this point, or you will get run over. There are numerous crosswalks that exist currently on 21st Street. If you've ever stood in the corner and tried to cross one of those, nobody stops. Nobody even slows down. If you live on the north side, you know that the two main arteries are State Avenue and 21st. That's the connecting arteries of our community to the services which lie to the east, whether it be Walmart or Kmart or whatever, or Applebee's. You realize that anybody living in that side is going to cross those streets to gain access to that. 21st Street comes into a juncture at Highway 22. Currently, that is probably the poorest juncture or poorest street connection on the north side. If you travel that street during the day, anywhere near noon or morning or evening, if you're making a left-hand turn off of 22, it's basically a one-car turn per light change. All right, now let's add to that. Let's add a concentration of 600 people that will access that same street on a daily basis. Yes, they are bused, and I can appreciate that. But those same people are going to go to Walmart, to Kmart, to Applebee's, to wherever. They're not going to live in their little cubicle all day and night. They're just not. You know, again, the man cap serves a vital concept needed probably in our community at this point, at least some would say. I'm not to judge that. But I really, really do, as a homeowner on 21st Street, have safety concerns about adding 600 people a day to that traffic pattern, which in the last 2 years has probably substantially increased 2- or 3-fold. I realize that currently there are traffic count cables all over our city. I'm assuming that that's being observed and being counted. But again, to me, this whole issue is not whether we should have that camp or have that facility in or near our community. It is in fact location on the north side, which jeopardizes safety of other people living there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Any questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else who would like to make comment, please feel free to come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm T.J. Haroff. I'm representing my brother Bill, as well as myself and my mom Nancy that's here. She owns about 300 acres that is adjacent to this location. Before I get started, I'm just curious as to if I could ask a question. The property is illuminated 24 hours a day? Oh, at nighttime? Okay, I was just curious. As we look at our city, and oil's going to dictate what happens in the next 5 to 10, some say 15, 20 years. We have an opportunity to use that to make Dickinson even better. And I think we can do that. I think it's going to take a lot of planning. I think it's something that I know we can get done. As we look at Williston and we look at Watford City, I think they would do some things different if they had a chance. You know, as Mr. Mouse said, with some of the things that are going on, I've got some friends that are in Watford City that are involved in the planning of that town. They're frustrated as well. And it's something that, you know, has happened. I think we can learn from that. I really like what I hear from Target Logistics. They seem like a reputable company that is doing the right things to minimize the impact of what they're trying to accomplish. Absolutely do we need man camps. As we look at Dickinson and the rents and the low-income housing that's needed to take pressure off of those things, absolutely, and I'm very encouraged that Target Logistics and others will be looking at our town to alleviate some of those problems. As we look at where the city is going to move, I think the next development could very easily be up in that area. I think that a man camp in the middle as we move north, as it's been rumored, and I think it's true that there is going to be major retailers that are going to be south of there, of this location. I think as we look at that and we move to the northwest, I sit on a board that we talked yesterday about where's Dickinson going to be? Is it going to be 24,000? Is it going to be 35,000? Is it going to be 40,000? We're all over the board. I don't think anybody knows. But if we are moving to that number of residents, we're going to need more housing. I think the next orderly development moves in that direction. The school districts bought land north, I believe, and east of that location. I assume it's for a grade school. The residents there will provide the kids for that grade school. Traffic's going to be an issue. It already is an issue. It's not necessary, and Clarence is here, and not everybody drives 35 miles an hour on that road. As we're sitting up drinking coffee this morning, counting the cars that go on North 21st, it's already an issue. And I know the city and county know about it, they deal with it, they do water down the roads, and they do the best they can. There's culverts that need to be, they're going to fail, they need to be taken care of. It's dangerous. The county did a great job. The old Tickle Hill, they lowered that. So they're doing the right things in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. But again, I truly believe that's the next development, and I think a man camp buffers that. Certainly going to change the value of my mom's property, and I think some of the property up there. I would encourage the city and the county and development organizations in town, sit down with people like Target Logistics. Let's get excited about where we can put a man camp that works for everybody. And I would just close with, yes, we absolutely need a man camp. I really like what I hear out of Target Logistics. I don't believe that's the location. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Harrow. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment. Please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. My name is Kurt Riddle. I represent my mom, Dorothy, my sister, Josanne, and my other two brothers, Arthur and Keith. The proposed location for the man camp is approximately half a mile east of properties owned by my sister, my mom, and my brothers. And we are not opposed to having a man camp in the city of Dickinson. It's the location we are opposed to. As Mr. Mouse had mentioned earlier, a couple months ago, we were here at the same zoning commission meeting, and they were asking for a special use permit at that time. And again, the proposal was residential planning for that area. And with the growth coming and the traffic coming off the interstate on exit 59, going north, yes, I can see where Target Logistics is saying that's an excellent place, easy access to the interstate, a mile or so to Highway 22 north. It would be great for that, but also we're looking at traffic safety issues, and the roads to and from that man camp are narrow and need rebuilding, and it can't handle the traffic the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment. Please come forward.
Hi, I'm Jan Perkel. I live directly north on States Avenue of 21st Street. I'm really concerned about this development. I'm not against man camps, as some would think. I am not. It's the location you have picked. Number one, as Mike said, I don't know if you know, in Williams County, there are 22,000 people. They have 9,400 man camp beds. You don't think that's coming here? It is. Fine. But you put this man camp here, you have opened the door to putting them around Dickinson. They said, this is the best spot. Okay, now the next people come in. Where's the second best spot? Where is the third best spot? Where is the fourth best spot? We're going to be totally surrounded. If you want to put these things in the city of Dickinson, put them in industrial zone, commercial zone, where they belong. This is like a giant hotel, the comings and goings. They said, we invite 10,000 people to come out to our place and have a lunch. What kind of traffic is going to 10,000 people on that corner? You think this is just an ag community out there on the corner? Nancy, Dean, Mike, and I are neighbors. We have a little neighborhood out there. You wouldn't dream of putting this in the center of Dickinson, in your neighborhood. You wouldn't. But we have a neighborhood out there, and we enjoy our lifestyle out there. I'm sorry. I think we should consider how this is going to take place, that it's too close to where the properties are coming. Nancy's, I was over there, I'm over at Nancy's quite a bit. I sit in her dining room, look out, it looked directly down onto this man camp. She's got a straight shot at it. Mike, you come out of his driveway, you look directly into the man camp. Dean has a beautiful landscaped, tree-lined driveway. You come down that, you'll be looking directly into the man camp. This is not hidden. You have some pictures there of the Williston man camp and how well it's run. Take note, did you look at the RVs on the site and the porta potties? The semi-trailers parked there? That's in their Williston camp. Those pictures were taken on Sunday. That's what's happening up there in their camp. It's right there. Take a look at the pictures. I'm not against Target. You know, I'm not against man camps. I just think people really need to be concerned with the residents of Dickinson and the people who live around here. We have been here. I was born in this town and raised in this town, and I will retire and die in this town. It is my community. These people will come and go. And fine, they're going to come and go. But why do we have to sacrifice 10 years of our life looking at a man camp? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perkle. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment. Please feel free to come forward.
Mike Ravinius. I live on the corner of State Avenue and 21st. I guess most of what my concerns have already been said. As far as the traffic issue, I don't think anybody understands the flow that goes up that gravel road in a day. I pretty much could board up my windows because the dust is so bad, you can't open them. You don't open your garage doors. You can wash your car, and inside the house, in the garage, in 2 days, it looks like you didn't even wash it. So the traffic is probably my main concern, but second of all, I guess I have 2 small children that we own a fair amount of land there they can go out and play on. We don't have to worry about them. Safety right now is, you don't have people in that area that you're concerned about. You trust everybody around you. You put in 600, and I don't mean to offend the people coming, but some of it's transient people that we don't know, they're not local people. You put 600 people right beside an area that has 20 living there right now. I can't imagine anybody in here would feel safe having their family in that area. So I agree with everything about the man camp situation. Fine, put it in a commercial area. There's no way that area can handle that kind of traffic, and I don't think it's a good move for the community to put it there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravinius. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment, please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, my name is Dean Kubis, and I live just east of where they want to put this man camp, and I'm concerned about the dust. My wife's got COPD. With all these trucks going out there, she cannot even go outside. I mean, she just can't breathe when she gets out there. And with all this extra traffic, it's just going to be worse. I know our horses are going to be affected by it with the dust. I've talked to people where it's dusty and their horses are getting sick. I just don't, yeah, maybe we need a place like that, but I don't believe that is the place. And one other question, before you ask Tracy, if somebody's living out there, you didn't elaborate, say who it was. All right, that's pretty convenient, isn't it? I have talked to so many people with a husband, with a wife and kids, and I haven't talked to one person that would move their family out there and have 600 men in your backyard. It's almost, what it looks like here, it's who's sleeping with who. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kubas. This time I'd like to ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment. Please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Doug Sullivan, the Superintendent of Schools for Dickinson Public Schools. As Mr. Haroff has said, we do own property which would be located just to the east of this location, probably as a crow flies about, I imagine, 250, 300 yards. The school district has experienced an enrollment increase that is not as large as we had thought it would be, largely because of housing issues that the council has already talked about, and we've lost a lot of our low-income people have had to move. But the school district does know that in 2 years, if we don't do something in the schools, in our K-5 buildings with our existing facilities, we will be out of classroom space if we do not experience an influx of students. And the point that I'm getting to is that we have just started and initiated discussions about how we're going to try to prepare for what appears to be just on our horizon. And traffic is a concern for the school district and would be a concern in that area. One thing that I have not heard discussed, we've talked about 600 people living in a very small area. 600 people is larger than many North Dakota cities, and those people have to be fed and deliveries have to be made. I would like for the commission to please remember that it's not just the residents that have to be transported up there. It's all the supplies and the food and everything else, and the trucks traffic that will create. And I'll just conclude with the comment that we agree with Mr. Klein, that we would like the commission to be very careful in making sure that the man camp is strategically located in the right area for the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. This time I'm going to ask if there's anyone else who would like to come forward and make comment on this special use permit application. Please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Galen Baker. I'm Executive Vice President for Stark Development Corporation. This subject of this man camp was discussed at length at our board meeting yesterday, and not by resolution, but certainly by consensus, the opinion was that this is indeed the wrong location for this. One of our community leaders said to me a little while ago that it's much more important that we do this well than that we do it fast. And I believe that's absolutely true. If we're going to manage this oil impact, we have to do it well to make sure our community quality is maintained. Even oil companies need to be conscious that, there are environmental impacts and energy conservation issues in this world these days. And this location, no matter how you skin it, is going to generate a good 2,500 vehicle miles a day on gravel roads around Dickinson. If you've approached Williston or Watford City lately, in the daytime, there's a pall of dust that just rests over those communities. We don't want to see that happen here, and I really believe that, there's going to be an inordinate amount of dust, as others have stated. It'll be 2 years at a minimum until those roads up there get paved, even under the best of circumstances. I believe there are locations very close to where the majority of these jobs are going to be. We all know there are going to be a great deal of them either in North Industries or on Highway 22 North. I believe there are locations there where you could locate the man camp pretty much adjacent to those jobs, maybe even have a dedicated paved road that got those people there. I hope that we can find a great location for this. We do absolutely need man camps. They're very important to us. It'll help moderate the cost of housing in the area. You've heard the song over and over. It's just the location.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, there is one question I would like you to answer now, if you would. You are speaking for the Stark development, or yourself?
Well, it was the consensus in the room. There was not a resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment on the special use permit, please come forward. Is there anyone on the commission who'd like to make public comment?
I will eventually, Mr. Chairman, but
Okay.
we're sure that public comment is done, and
Not yet, I don't think.
I'll
I'll
wait a
ask
minute.
again if there's anyone else who would like to make comment.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, could I have an opportunity to address a few of the points that were raised?
Is
that appropriate?
Yeah, you can clarify things that were not, keep it very to the point.
Yes, sir. I just want to express that I know I can feel the heartfelt opposition. I think it's honest, and, I understand some of it, and some of it I think is the result of misconception, or rumor or failure on our part to not accurately portray ourselves. I accept full responsibility for that. Just some issues were, the special use permit would only be for the 600-person camp that we're talking about today. We wouldn't be able to go up to 6,000 without coming back and asking for permission. I want to make that clear. Also, this is not an open camp, as we define it. An open camp operates more like a hotel and takes people for short-term stays. This is not an open camp in that meaning. Everyone there would be for long-term stays, would be attached to a corporate client, and would not be for transients or people like that. With regard to the parking issue, it's been our experience that most of these people don't have cars. They come in by alternate means. They fly in and get picked up at the airport by our service or by their own people. So the parking that we've outlined is anticipated. And just to be clear, we didn't invite 10,000 people to our location. The city of Williston invited 10,000 people to a public space, and they asked us to cater it. We wouldn't invite 10,000 people to come visit us at our camp there. Also, we would certainly engage in extensive and aggressive dust mitigation programs, just as part of our commitment to being a good neighbor to the city of Dickinson and the people who've been here today. Also, I haven't had an opportunity to view the pictures that were submitted, but I would say that any portalets or RVs or anything like that would be temporary and used for construction purposes. They're not part of our ongoing lodge operations. I don't know if I addressed the most significant issues, but that was from the public testimony what came to me, and obviously I'm happy to answer any questions that might have been raised by the testimony that you heard.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This time again, I would ask if there's anyone who would like to make comment on this application, please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Dennis Hulsing, and I'm just speaking as a member of the community. I actually sold the property to Jan Perkel, and so I must admit there probably is an angle there. But my advice, and I heard it mentioned many times here is just slow down. These man camps, I mean, basically, we're working on the front end of a man camp right now. They can set these things up in 120 days. I mean, it's not like there's this big lead time, and I think this is a very important issue that needs to be looked at much more carefully than it is at this point in time. And so I guess that would be the one comment I would have as a citizen of Dickinson. I mean, everybody else made tremendously good points, but just slow down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halsing. This time I'd ask, is there anyone else who would like to make comment? Please feel free to come forward. Is there anyone on the commission who would like to make comment at this time? Mr. Jackson, did you want to make a comment now?
I will. I sat yesterday, Mr. Chairman, thinking about this, looking at this proposal, and did make a few comments that I that I do want to make, and then if you'd like, I'll be prepared to make a motion when that's appropriate. I think that we need a crew camp in Dickinson. I wish our growth wasn't so fast that we did, but I think we do. People simply need accommodations. We really don't want to build houses, apartments for people who are going to be part of the peak of this oil boom, who won't be here maybe 10 years from now. Most importantly, I think a crew camp is a significant part of the equation to handle the rent situation that we've got in Dickinson. We simply need to provide more places to live. No matter where we put this crew camp, this room is going to be full. I know that. It doesn't make any difference. Adjacent property owners are likely to be opposed. We're going to be put in a position, again, if we deny this proposal, we'll be put in a position to hear a room full of people that are against it. That's okay. That's the way it should work. There is no perfect location. Somebody said we should find a spot that works for everybody. I don't think that exists. There are pluses to putting a man camp closer to town. We can properly manage it. We can get infrastructure to it. There are a lot of pluses. I think we're fortunate to have Target as an applicant. I think that if we do a crew camp someplace, that we're fortunate to have Target as an applicant. And if we were to deny this application, I hope that Target looks for another location. But I do think the question comes down to location. For me, that's what it is. It's a location issue. The northwest quadrant of this community is the quadrant that's going to see the lion's share of residential and, I think, light commercial development in Dickinson. We've got to be sure that this is the right quadrant for a crew camp. We're only going to have one chance at this. We've already denied an industrial site in the same location. So we've really got to look at the location part of this thing. I think that it's highly unlikely a developer or a homeowner would want to build up to a crew camp. I think that's really unlikely. So it comes down to a land use question to me. This facility, in my mind, could spoil quality development, managed development in this quadrant of Dickinson. There have been a lot of arguments about traffic, and I think we really need to talk about that. Because if we were looking at a proposal this morning to do 100 homes or a 100-lot subdivision that might include apartments, townhouses, whatever it may be, we could have more traffic than this proposal. So we've got to recognize that. As a community, we simply have to be prepared to mitigate these traffic issues as best we can, whether it's a crew camp or a single-family development. So I think we have to be careful talking about the traffic situation. We're working hard to develop a bypass around the northwest quadrant of Dickinson. That's going to help the traffic situation a lot. But there will be issues with traffic no matter what the development in this area. those who are living in the northward extension of States Avenue, I think you've got to be prepared for development encroaching upon you. It's going to happen, whether you want it to or not. We're really working hard to keep this growth orderly and managed. We're going to make some mistakes. We're not going to get it all right, but in my mind, this location isn't compatible with managing our growth well. And I'm going to vote against it purely because of location, not because of traffic, not because of some of the other thing. I think there are some misconceptions about crew camps. I do hope that Target continues to look for a location in Dickinson, but I don't think this is the right location.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Elkins.
I agree with what Mr. Jackson just stated. This property, Target Logistics, we need Target Logistics, and we need a man camp. There's no denying that. The problem that I have is it needs to complement the surrounding area. And with the urban growth taking place in North Dickinson and Northwest Dickinson, that is going to be either commercial or housing. The streets and the safety of the citizens living up there also is a concern of mine. No matter how you cut it, if you're going west or east on 21st Street and you try to turn out and go north on Highway 22, it could take you 20 minutes to a half an hour just to make that turn. But going west, you end up paved, hitting 112th, and you've got gravel roads. I don't believe that the roads are compatible to handling the additional traffic, at least at this time. And for that reason, I'm opposed to this crew camp just because of where it's located.
Thank you, Mr. Elkins. Is there anyone else who would like to make comment at this time? Mr. Kovac?
Mr. Chairman, I have to agree with Mr. Jackson, Mr. Elkin as well. When I got this in my packet, I was actually happy to see it until I realized where it was at. The location of it, personally, I think it would be better to be right off of 22, possibly. I think it needs to be a little bit further out of town. I think that will eventually be an area that is going to be built on, whether it's residential, retail, whatever it might be. The funny thing is everybody that spoke, nobody opposes a man camp, but nobody wants it in their backyard. And we hear that all the time. And no matter what happens, like Gene said, if we do go somewhere else, the same thing's going to happen. And it's going to have to go somewhere. But I agree also that this isn't the spot. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kovac. I'd just like to make some comments on a few things. I think some disparaging remarks that the people that work in the oil patch, the people that would live at a man camp, they're no different than you or I. They're hardworking people. They're no different than our neighbors. They can do things wrong or right as well as anyone. I just think that those guys working there and girls working there are looking for a decent job. They're coming from other places, but they're good people, hardworking people. I grew up in a man camp. It was called Tioga back in the 50s, and that probably was worse than any man camp that exists today. So I think the product they presented is a good product. Location is not a good location. This time I'll ask Mr. Cortana if he'd like to make any comments whatsoever.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to add to some of the comments that have stated here, just for clarification purposes. The entire portion of the property from the 58 acres would be included within the special use permit as a recommended condition or denial based upon your side. It would contain all the application materials, so they would be limited to what they have submitted today and the testimony that they have provided. With respect to drainage and development and dust control on site, they are proposing to pave the access road leading into it in the parking lot, so dust control will be minimal on that. As part of the construction, it would fall under our normal, under our property maintenance or the dust control. You would have to water the site during the construction of that to minimize the fugitive dust from leaving the property. So that would fall under our normal development standards. With respect to commercial industrial zones that were brought up today, as staff, I find it very difficult as I talk to a lot of the crew camp companies to find sufficient locations. It's difficult. The industrial and commercial lands that we do have, in order to provide a crew camp facility to the amount of rooms that are necessary, with the thousands of people that we're having here, temporary workers, there's not a space available for that. I mean, our commercial property is pretty much used up or is already under construction or will be very shortly. Industrial lands, you see that every month, and we'll have petitions in front of you after this meeting to go from agriculture to industrial. We do not have sufficient land for that. So the question is, where else do we put these? I appreciate your comments. I appreciate the comments from the public. I think they're all very valid. It's a complex, difficult issue to address. I think we all realize that we need to have that. If somehow the development community was able to build the housing, the single-family and resident and multifamily, I think that would be a detriment to our community because eventually they're going to leave. Eventually in 5 or 10 years, maybe even 15, the temporary workers, with oil-related industry will be gone, and then we will have the effects as everywhere else is going, where property values drop because you don't have the employees here. And then you would have foreclosures and the impacts of that. So temporary housing is definitely needed in this community to address the short-term housing problems that we have and the increased rent cost and also to buy a house as well. I could suggest to you, I understand where you're probably going for denial on this, but I think Target Logistics has proposed a sufficient transportation plan. They have proposed providing buses in order to mitigate the vast majority of the traffic that will be proposed here. My suggestion, if you were at all consider it, would be have a condition that they provide that they show that 50, 60, 70, whatever percent that you want, that you feel comfortable with, would be bused and a bus route. I understand the concerns on States Avenue. That's a county road. It's a dust problem. Yes, it is. What you can do is prohibit those routes to be used. You could say the only routes you can use is whichever ones that you feel comfortable with. So if that's your concern on the transportation issue, I think it could be sufficiently mitigated. The compatibility issue, that's your decision to make. Obviously, if you feel it is or not. I stand by my staff report, and with that, if you have any questions of me.
Anyone have any questions at this time for Mr. Creton? Thank you, everyone, for their public comment. This is a difficult issue, and it's not going to go away. There has to be an answer to the demand for housing for temporary workers that hopefully some of them someday will be permanent. And hopefully we as a community can come up with an answer along with the fine people, the people such as those who work for Target Logistics, to come up with that answer. This time I'll close the public portion of this hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to deny the application.
Been a motion to deny. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second. Any further discussion?
One thing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jackson.
There are a lot of people watching us on TV today, too, and these discussions are discussions that we really need to have as a community as much as we can. You can't do that completely, but we really need to have them as a community. We're affecting a lot of people. I want to make sure that we go on record commending not only Mr. Creton, but all of the staff for the work they did on this. They did a very good job. Whether our opinions differ or not, that's okay. That's going to happen. but they've done a very good job with this, and they're doing a very good job helping shepherd us through this growth and through the impact that we're seeing. So I just want to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any other comments, any other discussion? I too think that, in a short time, there's been an enormous amount of work, and I think there's been more discussion in this community in 2 months than there has been in probably all of McKenzie and Williams County, and even throw in Divide County, in the last 3-4 years. I think this is a very beginning, and it's very impressive of what people have done in a short time, and the concern that people have, both for the need and their lives as they exist today. I appreciate what's been done. Any other discussion? If being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Recommend denial. Those people that presented this from Target Logistics, if you choose, you can present this to the City Commission, even though we've recommended denial. It'll be your choice to do that if you'd like. Thank you, everyone who came and commented.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I have to leave.
Okay.
I apologize
all right,
to this
Joe.
board, but thank you.
Sure. Yeah, you guys keep working, okay? I know it was just the beginning, so, well, well, somebody would like that, I don't know, you know? Well, you know, Mr. Cook would like to have commercial on that northern strip of his property, you know, right on the section line. So,
You know, I started putting an email together for you, and I just had so little to do about it. I saw a couple of
no,
things.
I know, that's what I made the comment about disparaging remarks, you know, people can't do that, okay?
Have we done like a foot dedication?
No, that's not called for, okay. At this time, we'll continue on with our regular agenda. Our second item, it's a final plat. It's Southview Homes Edition, Parcel A, Southview Homes Edition located north of 6th Street Southeast and west of 9th Avenue Southeast in Section 10, Township 139 North, Range 96 West, containing plus or minus 23 acres. This time, I'd ask the party presenting, please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Matt Cotterman. I'm C&H Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the landowner, Rosa Johnson Construction and Hathaway Custom Homes. What you see before you today is a 76-unit proposed subdivision. They plan to provide single-family homes. I've worked with these builders before. They provide a quality product. I believe it would be an asset to your community to provide the needed housing. My presentation is very brief. We're continuing with the grid pattern that's been set out with consistent zoning, R2 zoning. They will be providing permanent homes. I'd be happy to answer any questions that come up during your review. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add a comment. As was mentioned at the preliminary plat stage and was not depicted on the final plat, the portion on lots 13 and 16, the easternmost portions that abut along 9th Avenue Southeast, staff would recommend that with this final plat that a non-access easement would be established along the entirety of that, along the eastern side of those two lots, in order to prevent access off of 9th Avenue Southeast. The city is not in favor of allowing that. Access should be off the existing streets to the north and south for those properties.
Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, that's been on the table all along, and the applicant is aware of that.
And it's
okay with
workable?
it. Yeah.
It could be modified, Mr. Chairman, prior to, I could check it prior to submitting it to City Commission if you have final approval today.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Coleman.
Yes, Mr. Cortana, or the applicant, is the entirety of this plat R2 zone?
This entirety of this plat is actually R1.
R1 zone?
Yes.
Including the larger lots on the
Correct.
east side? It's
Correct.
R1.
It was my understanding, Attorney Coley, that they may come back with a proposal later on in the future for that. If they do, that will be a rezone, and staff will look at that accordingly.
So it's currently R1? So no zoning change is needed at this time?
Approximately what size homes are going to go on these lots? They're a fairly small lot.
You know, I don't have the answer on that. I haven't seen the actual homes that they're proposing. You know, with the approximately 80-foot, frontage on the street and 100-foot of depth, I would assume, somewhere in the neighborhood, 2,000-3,000 square foot maximum.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. If anyone else would like to make a comment on this final plat? Seeing none, we'll close the discussion. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the final plat.
Been a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, recommendation, City Commission approved. Item 3 on our regular agenda today is a preliminary plat and rezoning. BK subdivision preliminary plat and rezoning from Ag AG to R1 and general commercial to light industrial lying in the northwest quarter, section 15, Township 140 North, Range 96 West, and situated easterly of Highway 22 containing plus or minus 129 acres. This time I'd ask the party presenting, please come forward.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. I'm Don Schmeling, Continental Real Estate, and I'm representing the Bob and Angie Cadamus estate, and basically through Rhonda Leeds, their personal representative with the power of attorney for this. So I've had this property listed for a while, trying to go through the rezoning process. We've been advertised publicly at the county level, and also now through the sketch plat hearing, and now we're here at the preliminary hearing. I do have a handout I would like to present to the commission that probably wasn't done previously.
Thank you.
Basically, that is a map of the Stark County zoning of the property surrounding the property that have in question here. There's 123 acres, or roughly, plus or minus, in this specific request that we're requesting to rezone from ag to basically multi-use for commercial, general commercial. We have rural residential in there, and we also have industrial. And with that in mind, I feel as a realtor here in Dickinson, North Dakota, that these are the highest and best uses of this property, and we believe that they will sell well and increase the tax base for the city of Dickinson and the county. I also have here Mark Swenson, engineering and surveying consultant from Highlands Engineering, and basically they are the company that put this plot together. As per the plot drawing, Highway 22 running here. Okay, a continuation of the zoning, which is commercial, running from south to north, where you have Mountain West, you have Miller Insulation and Stockton Electric in there, and then buffering the Krolichek subdivision, we have proposed rural residential in there, and those tracks go along the whole north edge of the Krolichek subdivision. Basically, those will be 4+ acres to sort of buffer that area, and then we'll go into the industrial use in and around it. Also, in that buffer area off from the Krolichek subdivision, there's a 50-foot right-of-way in there right now that we are proposing to close from the Green River industrial area, and also off from the frontage road off 22, except for access into our rural residential tracts there. That will eliminate the excessive industrial type traffic through there. That would be our proposal.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Jack.
when you say you're going to close it, what do you mean? You're going to ask for vacation?
Yes.
A vacation process? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
You know, I think this addresses several issues. There is demand out there. I know some discussion in the past has been, is there demand? We have offers on the table at the present time for this property pending the rezoning. It just seems like the traffic or the industrial is wanting to be north of town. As per the map, I mean, if you look at that map, this property is basically fill-in zoning, if you will. On the east side of the property, you have the Green River industrial. On the north side, it's all industrial. Across the road, Highway 22 to the west, it's all industrial. I just feel like this is the best use of this property, and there is definitely demand for that. We've even had a call just the other day, someone wanting to look at the entire area. Another realtor has called me, and we're negotiating back and forth, no offers in place, but so, is there demand? Yes, there's demand, and I think we're cluster zoning there by doing this with this request, and I guess that's all I have to say, unless Mark has something. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Melling. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Corton, just for clarification, I don't think that property up there is industrial to the north. Isn't it limited industrial?
To answer your question, Mr. Tews, to the north would be, if I recall right, outside of our ETZ, so that would be actually county zoning. So if this is an accurate depiction of the map, then I have nothing to refute that. Below that area, though, let's see, below the area, and that's something that, you know, we look at, we have it as agricultural, they have it as public recreation. I think they're basically about the same. You're talking about agricultural land uses or open space land uses. And then and then also for the areas that you see for depiction of 15 and the 15 or the yellow in the northeastern corner and along the along the road to the south, that would be as well either residential or agricultural in our zoning classification.
Thank you, Mr. Croton. Anyone else have any questions or comments at this time? I have a question, how this would affect the thoughts on our corridor zoning, the discussions we've had on that.
Mr. Chairman, I could provide you my comments. I spoke up at the original sketch meeting. I was opposed to it, and I still am today. I think that if we're looking at highest and best use, then we would approve the last crew camp. You can make that assertion, or any of them. The question as a planning commission is to look at not just today, but also in the future. Our discussions that we've had about the corridor, I firmly believe that we need to preserve that, not just for the people that abut that, but also for all the residents. When you come into a community, your first perceptions of a community are what you see as you come in. And if you have that same perception as what you've had from all the other communities in the western part of the state, you'll have that potentially negative impact. Industrial development is needed, absolutely. Now, is this the right location? I don't think so. I think that we should push industrial at least a quarter section to a half section inward. So, as I've commented before, I'm opposed to this. It's your call to make as a commission. But I think along our corridors, we should have either agricultural as existing as it is today, or existing residential, if that's the way that it is, or commercial. But I don't think we should have industrial butting against our highways or main corridors coming in.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Tooze?
Mr. Chairman, I do agree with Mr. Corton that it does go against what we were developing for our corridor plan. It does have, I do have some concerns that kind of what just hit this board, if this residential property in the middle of this commercial area ever is sold, traded, whatever, we're just going to bring other issues onto this board and other development. So if we're going to stick with our corridor plan, I'm too opposed to this.
Thank you, Mr. Tooze. Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jackson.
I guess I've been concerned about the Highway 22 corridor for a long time, and I do think we need to really get some direction on it, what's left to get direction on. For a long time, I've always seen this as an area that the land use has been pretty well established. We're going to look at two subdivisions here, but just looking at the BK for a minute, we've got industrial on all four sides of it. I too think that the industrial needs to be moved perpendicular to the highway rather than parallel to it. And I would say that with this property too. I hope that the industrial up here can continue to develop to the east and to the west, away from the highway. If this were a little bit south of here, I would not be in favor of it. The one thing that troubles me are the two residential properties there. I guess there's really three. And that does trouble me, but as far as the overall use, I just think it's been pretty well established already.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, one more comment if I could.
Sure.
I do think, we have done some other things along Highway 22 where we've kept the zoning adjacent to the highway commercial rather than industrial. And we may want to look at that with Lot 1, Block 1.
That is something to look at, yes. Any Any other comments or questions? I have a question on the right-of-way that you would like to have vacated. Does that right-of-way serve any purpose right now?
It is basically a two-wheel trail that's going along the north edge of the Kralachek subdivision. It's not a graded or paved or surface road at all.
And do you know what the total width of that right-of-way is on all of, the width of it?
I believe it's a 50-foot right-of-way in there, but I'm not sure of the total. You know, Mark? Okay.
I can answer that. Mark Swenson, Highland Engineering. When the mobile home subdivision to the south of this was platted, they platted a 33-foot right-of-way. What we're trying to mitigate is, we all recognize this is a challenging property because it has a residential and industrial surrounding it, so there's a big question of how to best to work through that issue. So they have an existing 33-foot right-of-way on their side. Now, it was thought that it would be a positive and would help this plat go through the process if we could close that, because the Green River, which is right directly adjacent to it to the east, once there's a road built there, there would be industrial traffic from Green River, and of course, traffic will follow the path of least resistance. So once that right-of-way would be established, if they need to go to Dickinson, to town, instead of going north, obviously they're going to go south, and they'd probably end up driving through some of the residential streets of that subdivision. So the request to close that is really, it's beneficial to this property because he has residential property along the south side, and it's also beneficial to that. But to answer the direct question, that's a 33-foot is what's been platted thus far. And normally, if you wanted to keep that right-of-way open, well, the county now wants 80 or 100 foot of right-of-way. So we could show there that additional right-of-way to make that 80 or 100 feet. What we're doing right now is putting that out there that we're not giving that right-of-way, but it's for the beneficial of the entire community in that area. But if the board so choose that they felt that that right-of-way should be there, it certainly could be added, but I don't think anybody believes that it's probably a good idea to put that there.
Now, your request would include to try to get rid of all the right-of-way in there, both the existing 33-foot that runs all the way across and the 50-foot on the property on the north side?
Well, right now, since it is the plat on the north side, there is no right-of-way yet. So there would be no action necessary. When you do the plat, there just wouldn't be a right-of-way established there. The 33-foot on the south side, we haven't, I guess we would take direction from whatever the city staff felt would be the best way to do that. You could leave it, theoretically, you could leave it there. 33 feet's not enough room to build a road, so it would be more or less an access. Could that turn into something negative? Potentially, because if Green River currently has a right-of-way down to that, and actually has right-of-way right up to that, even though there's no county road there, they could, again, following the path of least resistance, they could choose to start just driving through there, and there's nothing legally you probably could do to stop them. Now, if you want to make a condition of that, there needs to be a vacation form, whether that it goes with this plat, that would be fine. Whatever format or method that you need, if you want to vacate that, I think it'd be a good idea. And this party would be glad to head that up, and if the form needs to be signed. Actually, that form would need to be, need to be a public process, I believe, with that, and we'd go with whatever public process there would be. Sort of muddying up that explanation, but I hope that suffices.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tooze?
Mr. Swenson, wouldn't it make more sense to carry that 50-foot public right-of-way through Lot 6 and Lot 11, and use that area as a buffer with that 33-foot area, and do away with the R1 property for Lot 9, 8, 7, 6?
That would be a question, I guess I would say that's a good question. That would be a question that we believe, I think it's in the best public interest that you close that, because I believe that if you open that up, like I said, there is an existing subdivision with, looks like there's 14 lots on the west side, and so there are probably 28 industrial lots in there.
Maybe you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying make that a public access and use that area as a buffer area, that 33-foot access easement in that 50-foot area, and change your zoning on 9, 8, and 7, and 6, and make that a commercial property. I think that would be a better land use than trying to intermix residential with limited industrial.
Well, we appreciate that input. We've always struggled with, there's not enough space in this property, and you have this very heavy industrial around this. It certainly would be worth entertaining. If you feel as a board that those lots bordering the residential side would be better off as commercial, well, that's actually a question for the landowner and the realtor, but I'm sure they would entertain that.
And make that as a buffer instead of public right-of-way.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jackson?
I understand the suggestion, but I think if I was living in Krolichek's third and fourth, I'd rather have those residential lots buffering me than just a tree buffer.
And I understand that, Mr. Jackson, but we're doing everything that we've said that we're not going to do. We're taking away the corridor access and putting industrial right back on our corridor. We're intermixing residential and limited industrial without buffers. Let's be consistent about something. I mean, this is totally inconsistent of anything that we've discussed.
I think the developer is probably giving up something from a marketing standpoint, the way it's shown, I think. I think those residential lots that you're showing there are going to be more difficult to move than if they were commercial or industrial. True?
And I don't disagree with that, Mr. Jackson, but we're trying to suffice all the arguments that we've had to put that in there. I do think there is demand. As a matter of fact, I've had a couple calls on them that let me know when they're available. So I do think they're probably are saleable, but my question would be is if they're as saleable as commercial as rural residential, typically commercial wants to be more visible, along the major highways, byways. But, I mean, we're certainly open and not opposed to any suggestions that you might have.
Well, do you intend to leave those lots 9, 8, and 7, and 6 as large as they are? Or would we see a smaller lot come the final plat?
I don't think so. I mean, if you're looking at a rural residential lot, you're typically looking at somebody that's going to want to have a horse or two or something like that, and so they'll probably, if it was me buying those, I'd probably want to run a tree buffer along the north edge of that to buffer it from the industrial and have the room for the horses, so our intent would probably to be to leave them as they are.
And if you lived in Lot 1 south of that, Lot 10, Krolichek's third, would you want horses next to you?
Whether that right-of-way space is there, I guess that's up to the public to decide, I guess, or the board here, but I don't see that being an issue. There's actually, I believe, on the east side, I think right now there is a livestock so on there.
And right now, I guess that's permitted. Any other comments or questions?
Just a point of clarification, we're doing both approval of preliminary plat and rezoning today?
With respect to your question, Commissioner Jackson, yes. So you could approve the preliminary plat and deny the rezone, or approve both of them, or deny them all.
Okay.
So it's your call.
But the request, though, is for R1, it appears.
That's the request that they have. If they wanted to go to a less sensitive zone, I think that would be appropriate to be able to do so. You could ask Attorney Colleen on there, but, I think if you're, as part of public testimony, and if they reduce the zone to something that's less than that, I don't think you necessarily need to advertise, but that's a question on that, so.
What I'm getting at is I'm hearing talk about horses, and I don't think R1
would not
Well,
allow.
isn't the proposed zoning on there that we requested was rural residential in there?
It says R1.
Okay, well, it's meant to be rural residential on our plot. I'm sorry. I guess, long story short, we want a rural residential in there, and we want a general industrial on there, but according to Mr. Corton, that would have set us back a month. I visited with Sean Shoren. He said to come to this meeting, present it, and request it for the final plot. So that is what I am doing.
Mr. Colon, do you have any comment on this?
Yes, Mr. President, Commissioners, if you wanted to change the zoning on that it's fine. You would need to re-advertise for that. We would have to bring, though, a rezoning ordinance back, not before this board. We'd bring it back at the final plat stage with the rezoning request, and then forward that on to the City Commission.
So what I'm hearing is we'd probably just approve the preliminary plat today, and they would come back with the rezoning request in a month.
That's correct. That's correct.
Couple of comments, if I may, about the corridor that you're talking about there. I guess if you look to the north and to the west, I mean, you have industrial on. I mean, I'm assuming power fuels, Oxy Petroleum, Solarby, are they not industrial? They're just across the road. That's also right along the highway. As you get closer to Dickinson, are not Halliburton and Baker Hughes, are they not industrial? Those are not considered industrial? I need clarification. I was understood that they were.
They are, but, right, there's some general commercial in there, there's some light industrial. What we're looking at, though, is to change the continuation of that, to change the way things are built in commercial, light industrial, and how they do face all of the highways coming in and out of Dickinson. It makes sense for planning to clean up the view, and we got to start somewhere. And this falls in that corridor. You can probably do what you want to do, but you may have to rearrange things. And that would be my suggestion, is that things be rearranged a little bit with consulting with Mr. Corton on it, and still do what you're looking to do, but make it a more aesthetic view.
The Baker Hughes area is all zoned commercial along the highway.
It is? Okay. I guess I was told it was industrial, so my mistake. Okay. But I still, I mean, you drive, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not objecting to that, but as you drive in from the north into Dickinson, I mean, you have all sorts of oil activity and industrial going on up there. It seems like we're singling this one out to make the change, and if we do need to do something like that, I'm not saying I'm opposed to that, or the sellers are, and I guess if changing Lot 1, Block 1 to another type of zoning or conditional use to improve those sight lines, I think we're open to that, if that's what it takes to move this thing forward.
I think that's the direction that we've been looking at. That's been a consensus. That's probably, that may or may not be what the idea is today, but I've carried that consensus with, since we started talking about corridors, that we got to start somewhere. I mean, someone has to be the first person to come here and realize that. You may be the first one. Hopefully you are and can continue on. That's my viewpoint. Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I could add a comment. As we had mentioned earlier, when you came through the sketch plat, this is kind of a interim process. We started our comprehensive plan, and in hopefully about 4 to 5 months, we'll have a good interim planning policy for this area, and that may be to your benefit. I don't know. That will be based on our infrastructure, our projected infrastructure, and then also public comments. But at this point, I think that, as the board and my personal feel is, yes, anyone that's along our corridor, we should look at it. We should look at it with what we would feel would be the best scenario for that, and address that accordingly. I would be comfortable if you chose to remove the limited commercial for Lot 1, Block 1, and then maybe, for lots 6 and 7, 5, 6, and 7, and make those as commercial general, and then we could potentially have rural residential for 7, 8, and 9. It's kind of a hodgepodge putting that together. The area is a transitional area, so it may kind of work that way. That potentially could work. That's a suggestion that, depending on where you want to go as a commission, that's a potential alternative if you wanted to consider that.
Mr. Schmeling, excuse me, Mr.
Oh, go
Chairman.
ahead, Mr. Tews.
If we'd stick with the corridor plan that we've been imposing down Highway 22, it would simply be changing the first 600 feet all along Highway 22 to general commercial, then transitioning into limited industrial, then transitioning into limited industrial with the back lots, and the last lots being general industrial, if that would be your wish. And then buffering on the south side, if we stay consistent to what we've discussed with our corridor plan. It would be just changing 6 lots. You're zoning on 6 lots. Now, the size is up to your plot, but
Okay, so you're suggesting on the first 600 feet on Lot 1, Block 1, is that what you're saying?
just like this.
Okay.
And Mr. Corton could take a look at it and see if my impression is correct with what we've discussed on the corridor.
Okay, this is that farmstead right here, this is this one here, then,
But that's what it would be zoned after you're done with your plot, whether it's a farmstead now or not.
I would have no objection to that. I mean, that's pretty consistent of what we've done in the past. So the only question I would have is, we always deal with is, does it follow along property lines for easy depiction? And looking at that, what you're proposing, Mr. Tews, would not, I have stated that it doesn't have to follow along property lines. It just makes it a little more difficult to interpret where those boundaries start and where it ends. Zoning districts do not segregate properties. Normally, in the normal course of events that we've done as a planning commission, is that you try to keep them clean, either roads or property lines. Nevertheless, when you're talking about the Baker Hughes and Halliburton, those transcended, and those were similar to what Mr. Tews is proposing. They didn't follow along the boundary, the lot lines for that. They were bigger lot lines, they were designed that way. And I'm fine with doing it that way. It's a scale issue. You get a good legal description, and that gets superimposed on the zoning map. So it's fine to do it that way.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Jackson?
Does Mrs. Leeds own that parcel on the highway that's not part of the?
No, it's
Okay.
a uncle or it's a relative. It's a
Okay.
Gordon Catamus owns that property.
Okay, so this party really wouldn't have the ability to request that zoning change?
No.
Well, it probably would happen in the future, but I like Mr. Caton's suggestion. I think it addresses what Mr. Tews is concerned about. And, we have to remember, we're not going to do that today, but I know these guys need some direction coming back a month from now.
Would it be okay to go on with that, Mr. Colling, with the suggested changes, or is it going to, and have them work it out for the final plat?
Yes, Mr. President, ultimately, you have to decide whether or not to approve the preliminary plat or not approve the preliminary plat. It sounds like if you would approve it, they're going to have to come back with a final that has some changes to it, and that's at their discretion to make those changes or to make proposals to you that you can ultimately accept. But your decision today is just to approve the preliminary or not.
Thank you, Mr. Colling. Any other discussion, any questions or comments?
Just a few questions to make certain I have it clear. Just a legal general question. Since all of these discussions are moving the zoning to a step or two less intensive zoning from what's currently shown on the map today, if the client agrees to these suggested changes, which I think we have a fairly good consensus here, can they move forward without another planning commission meeting? Can they go to the final plat meeting? And that's the question number one. I'll pause just to give a...
Mr. Coley?
If it may, Mr. President, at the next meeting, what you would need to have is a preliminary plat, which would be a final plat, which this board would vote on, and then also a zoning request change, and those could be handled at the same meeting.
Okay. All right, and just to make certain I understand this, I believe that probably splitting Lot 1, Block 1 into two different zones probably wouldn't be a good idea. So if they changed Lot 1, Block 1 to general commercial, if they changed Lot 1 through 7 to light industrial, clarify Lot 1 through 7 of Block 2 to light industrial, left Lot 8 of Block 2 as general commercial, left lots 10 and 11 of Block 3 as general commercial, and left lots 6 through 9 as rural residential, and left lots 1 through 5 of Block 3 as general industrial. Is that what the consensus was?
That is the consensus. And I think we can, what I feel here is we can go on with that today. You work the final plat out with the final zoning with Mr. Croton, and if he agrees and you agree, he would put it on the agenda for next month as a final with those changes, and it would probably be favorable to go along with the corridor zoning that we've been looking at.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Jackson?
I think we have consensus in all of this, but Mr. Croton did suggest that lots 5, 6, and 7 of Block 2 be changed to general commercial, which also helps Mr. Tuz's concerns about a little bit better transition there. Okay.
I'd like to hear on that, general commercial or light industrial, does it matter? Mr. Croton?
With respect to that, I mean, ultimately, I'm just a recommending person. But,
Okay.
ultimately, it's your decision to make. I would be okay with 5, 6, and 7 to be LI if that's where you go. I'm not going to oppose that. That seems fair.
Okay.
The biggest concern that I had was a change initially from CG for Block 1, Lot 1 to light industrial. I think that we need to figure out, as part of that corridor discussion and also subsequent commercial and industrial building designs and orientations and the rest, preserve that area somewhat so that you don't have the light industrial, you don't have those industrial uses. I mean, the biggest problem we have is not necessarily the building itself. Oxy's coming in is building a very nice building. I've seen the preliminary drafts of that. That would be, it's going to be more office in nature. Baker Hughes, when they built theirs, when that's finished, that's an office building. And it slowly transcends into the industrial development, and that was the idea, to provide that buffering. So when you drive down the road, you in essence see more commercial in nature than you would industrial. Halliburton is yet to be determined. Halliburton and the rest. I would like to see that progression, to be able to talk to these companies, because I do on a routine basis. The oil companies are coming in and say, we'd like to build an office building for our employees, and we also would like to have the ability to have the pipe yard or outside storage or the materials and the trucks as part of that. And they realized that they don't want to be a detriment to the community. They want to provide a nice building to promote their company. So they are actually would be, and I would feel that they would be in favor of us continuing this process, because that provides an assurance that their investment is not going to be brought down by an adjoining industrial building next to them. So they could put that investment, they could build that nice building with the assurance that, okay, my building, my values, the perception of my building will be there. So, I think as long as Block 1, Lot 1 is, I would be in favor of the CG and the remainder of that, as you have talked about. I'm fine with that. But ultimately, it's your decision to make.
Thank you, Mr. Corton. Yeah, the question was on that 5, 6, and 7 lots of the LI or GC, and I do believe, and I asked you that, I think because you have the best handle on the corridor application that we were looking at, and that tried to support you in that promotion of that fully. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment on this from the public, please come forward.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Neil Messer, and I'm not going to address the specifics of your plat here, but I guess I want to general or make comments on some of the general comments and concerns that you're dealing with, not only on this plat, but other plats that may come forth. I'm in the real estate business, as many of you know. I think not only do you want to deal with the corridor issue comments that you're talking about, but you also have to deal with supply and demand. There is a demand out there for the heavier side, the industrial side of component of zoning and of property. And so, you make a comment like the Oxys and Marathons and all, those are all industrial zoned sites. We just handled the Oxy one. Yes, it's a beautiful looking facility, but it's on an industrial site. And so if there's the demand for those companies and components for the industrial component, I think that has to be part of your discussion and part of your thing. It's great to have this corridor concept, but if you're going to force certain things on the corridor and then you have vacant property because you have this visual comment, because the demand is where you're trying to push them 600 or 800 yards off of Highway 22. I don't know that best serves everybody. And I'll give you a classic example of that. Is right now, if you come into town with a company and you're looking for industrial zone property that at a price, let's say, just put a sea-level price of $2 a square foot, where are they going to go right now if they want to be north? Guess what's happening? By limiting the amount of industrial property that you're allowing on the 22 corridor, you're pushing them north. Our office handled the subdivision in Dunn County because they got pushed north. 80% of those lots right now are sold because of the price component and the industrial availability to it. So I'm not trying to dictate to you. I'm just saying keep those ideas in mind. And I also think it's real difficult for us or you or whoever's involved in this process to dictate to private owners how they developed their property, because, as far as each component of it. Because if we did and make people develop it, you and I both know that Dick Cordy's property would have been developed years ago. But, you have a person who's just sitting there waiting for the perfect scenario to come forth, and he's, up until this point, has pretty much decided to stay on the sidelines and get involved in the development business. So I agree. I think the Oxys, the Solar Bees, the Marathons, all those companies who are up there all in the industrial sites are doing a good job trying to comply with what your vision is, but I would also just try to put the point forward that there has to be a supply, there's a delicate balance, and I know you're trying to deal with that, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Messer. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment on this preliminary plat and rezoning request. Please come forward.
Members of the Commission. My name is Joe Schneider. I'm one of the landowners on the plot at corners of the PK subdivision. And I'm just concerned a little bit about just, when I bought the property, I had a little bit of industry to the east of me, and some to the north, and that they say subsequently build another building. But I'm just concerned about being surrounded by commercial, property values and stuff like that.
What property do you own?
I own the northeast corner.
So you're not actually in the subdivision plat?
No,
You're next to
I'm
it.
on Highway 32, 32nd Street Southwest. I'm the northeast quarter, this,
Okay.
up in this corner here.
And you own that whole corner there?
Yes, that whole corner.
700 by 650?
Yeah, something like that, whatever it is. So I'm just concerned about that, so.
And at this time, what is your property zoned?
I really, I bought it a couple years ago, I'm not really sure. It's 10 acres, so I'm not really sure what it is.
All right.
It's one residence, probably, I have, pasture land and stuff like that. I don't have any horses or anything, but I do have the pasture land.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what that's.
We'll find out what it is.
That's what I'm just concerned about that.
Thank you. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment, please feel free to come forward. Anybody on the commission wish to make comment?
Mr. Chairman, there's
Mr.
one other
Jackson.
thing, and we talked a little bit about it last month with this development, and that is the issue of paving of the streets. This board hasn't typically dealt with that. I sometimes wonder if we shouldn't, only for the developer's sake. I'm pretty confident that the city commission will probably require a development plan that requires paving of the streets. Just in fairness to the developers, it would seem that maybe this board getting involved with a recommendation in that regard, I don't know. Just so there are no surprises. And we don't have to do it with this plat, but, it might be something to talk about for the future.
Anyone else have any comment on that this time? And, Mr. Cordon.
Mr. Chairman, I could comment on that. That's something that both the city engineer and myself, and also the county road supervisor have talked about. The county has deferred that to us, as I think it should be when we're talking about our ETZ. The policy is not in stone yet, but we are leaning at that any new development inside of our ETZ, at least that it would be commercial and industrial with the amount of traffic you would have on it, should be paved. You got to start someplace, and eventually the whole concept of the extraterritorial zone will be inside of your official city limits. And if you do not address it at this point, then as a city and as a taxpayer and everyone else will have to pay for that road to be paved in 10 years. So it makes sense that the developer, the proponent of that, should do that now. Otherwise, everyone else in the city will have to pay a portion to have that road paved as part of any other road improvements and slowly coming back trying to correct these problems. So it makes sense that as a policy, I don't know if it's necessarily a condition of approval. We're talking about plating issues, that's more of a policy thing, but that's where we're leaning as staff. And I think what you could do is provide a recommendation that we support the idea of having future commercial and industrial plats that are inside of our ETZ to have those roads paved, as a commission, and we could come with a more formal policy.
Do you foresee the city coming with a policy that is a definite?
Yes, we could, it's just like anything else, trying to codify and trying to put it in writing is tough. I think the city engineer, and I don't think he's here, would concur with me on there, but I'll let that ultimately be his decision, but that's where we've been leaning, and I think that's probably fair to let the applicant know that that as part of this development, that those roads will undoubtedly be required to be paved to a standard that will be determined by the city engineer. So, I understand where Mr. Jackson's coming from, and I think it's a valid one, but I think that, yes, there's demand for this area, okay. The road should be paved. We know it's going to eventually be urban in nature. It should be paved at the time of plat. it shouldn't be deferred for everybody else in the future.
Thank you. I think that can be a suggestion, recommendation on that final plat, if it gets to that point. At this time, is there anyone else who would like to make comment on this preliminary plat and rezoning request? Anyone else on the commission would like to make comment this time? I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing and ask for a motion.
Chairman, I'll move we approve the preliminary plat.
There's been a motion to approve. Is there a second? And a second. Any discussion? And I think with the discussion that has taken place, that the applicants realize that with the motion, it will carry a request for you to go to. It's not on the motion officially, but you realize through testimony that you will discuss with Mr. Corton about changes in zoning request on the final. Being no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Recommendation. Thank you. This time we have preliminary plat and rezoning request. It's an industrial park subdivision, section 16, preliminary plat and rezoning from AG, which is ag, to light industrial, lying in the northeast quarter, section 16, township 140 north, range 96 west, and situated westerly of Highway 22, containing approximately 84 acres. This time I'd ask the party presenting that.
Okay, again, good morning again, Commissioners and Chairman. Again, Don Schmeling, Continental Real Estate, representing the same family, the Bob and Angie Kedimus family, through their daughter, Rhonda Leeds. And we are proposing that 86, 83, whatever the exact acreage is there, to be zoned, again, general industrial as per the final plot. It is limited on yours right now, but again, I think this property follows your corridor a little better. It's off the highway, it's behind Solar Bee, Power Fuels, Oxy Petroleum. It's just to the east of Stellian Oil. So again, surrounded by industrial, and I guess we have like 14 lots in there, and they're ranging in size from approximately 7 or 8 at the very top, lot 1 in each track, and the rest of them are all right at 5 acres.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Mr. Corton, would you like to make comment on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Smelling, I can recommend approval on that. I think this is consistent more of what they're referring to. So I'm
Thank
not.
you.
Thank you.
Any questions, any other questions, any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Schmeling. This time I'd ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to make comment. Please feel free to come forward. Any other comments from the commission? Questions?
One question.
Okay, Mr. Jackson?
Tell us about the drainage. You got a long street. What is it, a half mile long, I think? Yeah. What's going to happen with drainage up there?
Mark Swenson, Highlands Engineering. Currently, there is a hill on the Occidental property, and if you know where that's at, that's south of Solar Bee, between this property and Highway 22. There is drainage that comes off of that property. You can be my ring girl. Here, hold the map up. The drainage comes off of this. We did allow for a drainage easement between lots 5 and 6. And then the general slope of the property is from the south to the north. So that drainage that would come off of the property that's labeled with the last 2 digits as 92 would go to the north. The backs of these lots do drain to the west. My understanding is that each property owner that would buy this would have to submit a site plan and comply with the city requirements for stormwater capture. But the general drainage is from south to north, but there is some water that comes off of the Occidental property.
Thank you, Mr.
Did I elaborate enough?
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Being none, I'll close the public portion of this hearing. What are the wishes of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary plot.
Been a motion to approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second, any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, recommendation approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would request a 5-minute break if we could.
Yes, you may. We'll have a 5-minute recess at this
Thank you.
time. Order now. I need to work together. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd ask the party presenting, we are going to do a rezoning, no, I'm sorry, we're going to do a preliminary and final plat and rezoning of Cook's Meadow Hills Second Subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
It's going from a rezoning from an ag to an R1, R2, and R3. And this is in the northwest quarter of Section 28, Township 140 North, Range 96 West, about 15 acres. Thank you.
You bet. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Harvey Schneider with Tillman Engineering. With me is Mike Cook, the developer for the project. Cook Meadow Hills Second Edition originally was shown as Phase 2 and 3 on the original master plan. The plat for Cook Meadow Hills Second Edition, as presented, contains 14.97 acres. The plat is located again in the northwest quarter of Section 28, Township 140, Range 96. The south boundary of this plat would be the north boundary of the Cook Meadow Hills First Edition, and the east boundary is along 10th Avenue West. The plat as it's laid out was in accordance with the master sketch plat that was presented back in December of 2010. The plat consists of 4 blocks and 34 lots. The proposed zoning will be residential in its entirety. For Block 1, it includes 10 lots, will be zoned R1. Block 2 will be zoned R3. In Block 3, 5 lots will be zoned R2, and the remainder, or the 1 lot, will be R3. And then Block 4 will be zoned R2. The Cook Meadow Hills Second Edition, as it's presented, the area has been previously annexed to the city. The proposed access points for this phase, or the proposed plat, will be a combination of the 10th Avenue West and a continuation of the 12th Avenue West roadway. The infrastructure will be connected to the 12th Avenue West, where the previous water and sewer that was installed terminated. That's where we're going to continue. In fact, the water and sewer for the next one, I'm just going to bring up another subdivision here shortly, but to the north, all of these subdivisions are served off of this water and sewer and street line. It's all continuous. Again, the utility connections will, for all of the proposed subdivisions, it'll serve directly to the north of the first and second subdivisions also. At this time, something came up on Friday, and I'd like to discuss that with you. If I could bring up another item here, and we'll just, I want to pass out some additional drawings here if I could. I guess since the last meeting in our submittals that we submitted on August 23rd, Mike's been approached by a developer and has entered into an agreement for the purchase of Block 2 of this proposed Cook Meadow Hills Second Edition. And along with that, the developer is looking at a portion of the adjacent land to the north. And I guess if you look at the second sheet that I handed out, the colored one, the yellow would indicate the Cook Hills first, and the red and also the cross-hatched area in purple there was the proposed Cook Hills Second Edition, okay? What the party is interested in is that area in green. That's shown on that drawing also. What we've done, I guess, Mike talked to me on Friday, and we reconfigured some drawings and did a proposal, or a proposed plat for the, what we call the Cook Meadow Hills Third Edition, and that would be the third sheet in that packet. And just showing what that configuration would look like. Now, all of this is basically in accordance with the, the master plan or the sketch plan that we had presented. Things are moving a little quicker than we had anticipated, but I just wanted to present this because my question is, I guess, on the Cook Meadow Hills Second, rather than platting, for instance, that Block 2, with the proposal that the developer gave Mike, we just feel it might be better not to, have to vacate it and re-subdivide and everything. If we could, or I guess for simplicity, what we're looking at maybe is eliminating the Block 2 out of the Cook Hills Second Edition plat. Just, knowing that there's a new layout coming, with this Cook Meadow Hills Third Edition. And just to give you an idea, if we were to eliminate it from the plat, that Block 2, your second sheet in that packet is what the Cook Meadow Hills subdivision would look like. Eliminating Block 2 out of there. But I guess, what's the commission's thinking on what I'm talking about? Is it feasible? Is it a good idea to eliminate that Block 2 out of the plat at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I could provide some comments that helps you out. If nothing else, just procedural issues. You could always reduce what you propose, you cannot increase.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'd have to go back and re-advertise. So if you're reducing a block, that's fine.
Okay.
You're limiting the impact on that. At this point, we wouldn't provide any comments for the future portion of that.
Right.
As I told you at the sketch meeting, I think you need to come in, you refer to the master plan. Master plan is not an approved plan, it's just it's a marketing plan. So there's no vested interest in anything to the west or to the north. My suggestion would be, we could deal with this one, but the remainder of that, you should come for a preliminary plat for the remainder of your development, so it's looked at holistically, to factor in all the concerns for future parks, for schools dedications, whatever the case may be. Do that all at one time. Then you're vested in if you get an approval for that. Otherwise, your master plan concept, if you piece portions together, there's going to be a time where as staff, we may look at it differently. So it's better to have it all done holistically. I prefer to do it all at one time. All the issues are addressed at the time. We know the road circulation patterns. We know where the park's going to be. We know where all the open space. We know where everything is going to be located on there. So I'd strongly suggest, before you submit the third one, that you come in with a preliminary for the remainder of that, including your third. And then you
For
could
the
come back
remainder
and
of the whole quarter of
Yes,
land?
yes, come back, and then you could come back with the final after you get your preliminary for the remainder, and then come back with the final for third edition, and fourth and fifth and the rest. That would be my suggestion on doing it as you proceed forward. But reducing, of what you're talking about today, reducing a block is fine. I have no objection, and I'm sure Attorney Colleen agrees with me. You could reduce, but you cannot increase from a public hearing.
Okay. I guess, with, I haven't talked firsthand with the proposed developers that have made the offer. Mike is here, and also the realtors are here, but there was one concern that I, understood from them was a time frame. They would like to do something yet this year on the proposed third addition going to the north, and I guess, I talked to Mike, and we are looking at reworking the southwest corner of this proposed sketch plat or master plan for the property. It's just that extreme southwest corner. At this time, we don't, anything on that north half or anything, there's no changes that we're planning on anything. We might, tweak it a couple of feet this way or that way, but otherwise, our plan is to keep everything the same. Our preliminary utility plan is all laid out based on, our original master plan as far as running all general utilities up 12th Avenue to the north. And I guess what I would ask at this time is, if there's any questions of, Mike or the realtors representing the developers, any questions on, what's being proposed. But I would like to see if, for the time frame, if we could keep with our plan as submitted here on the proposed, the Cook Meadow Hills third edition, that, nothing's going to be changed. And then, we agree that, we should, and we'll look at, that southwest corner or come up with a preliminary plat for the remainder of the subdivision.
Mr. Schneider, I have a question for you on that. On the one piece of literature handed out, it's got block 2 removed from proposed second edition and added to proposed third edition.
Yes.
That block 2, is that defined by the green boundary, or is that, it's pointing to
It's the cross-hatched area.
cross-hatched area only?
Yes. The Cook Meadow Hills second edition plat that's in front of you today, that block right there is the cross-hatched area.
And that's all you want removed?
That would be correct.
And you want that to stay the same zoning as it was? You do not want that to be rezoned today, or requested? That request to be removed from that piece of property?
Yes, and that would include the zoning also.
And does that also include 31st, is 31st Street going to continue to go through?
Yes, that'll continue to be part of the plat, yes.
Okay.
Yes. One thing that was brought up, and I slipped my mind here just for a bit, but at the last meeting, it was brought up about a non-access line along 10th Avenue. Our plat does not show a non-access line along 10th Avenue. And talking with Mike, the owner, what he would have liked would have been some sort of access to the lots off of 10th Avenue. But, just visiting with Gene and Ed, and also Mike here, Mike has agreed to make it continuous, along the lot lines along 10th Avenue. The non-access line, as they had requested. So. And that would be indicated on the final plat that'll be presented. Are there any questions, or, I guess the other thing is, as long as we're talking about all of this, and, again, they said that they wanted to move quite rapidly. I was just wondering if this could be considered a sketch plat, approval so we could bypass, one meeting, if that would be acceptable.
Well, I think I would ask for an opinion from our attorney on that, but I did have a question before we go on to that.
Sure.
Attached to the information given us, there's a letter about encroachment upon a pipeline right-of-way. Can you comment on that while we're on this issue?
I guess
Are you aware of that?
I know there was a letter submitted, or, I know Mike received, but I don't know what you have there.
The letter from Klein Production Company?
Okay. Okay, I guess on the first statement, I'll let Mike comment too on it. As far as, I did receive this particular letter.
Okay.
Okay, I did receive this. It says, "Please be advised that we are aware of your encroachment upon the subsequent comprising of our pipeline right-of-way, which crosses your newly acquired property." Okay. What we did on the last plat is we put the pipeline within an easement, okay? And so as far as the encroachment, I don't know really, what he's referring to. The pipeline, we did tie in, they located the pipeline on 2 occasions by flagging it, flagging it. We did tie all of that flagging in. Okay, we have that, and that, the way they have it staked, that's what we set up the easement for. Since they've come out and put up signs, just warning the general public or whatever that there is a pipeline underground, and that is, they've moved that considerably to the north, okay? Those signs are further north. I've got a drawing indicating that, but, I guess looking at it, I don't know what the encroachment means, because it's within an easement.
Sure. I just wanted your comment on it because it was attached to the application.
Oh,
as
okay.
comment from someone, and it is public. So if you don't feel that's interfering or bothering
No,
or
in fact,
the
with the
development at all?
the subdivisions we're talking about are to the north and, okay.
Cleared that up.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Colling, would you comment on that? I think we cannot do that. That has to, they want to come forward with you're asking for a sketch plat on something now, that would have to be presented at another time on an agenda that we would have established. Is that correct?
Mr. President, sketch plats are not submitted for your vote or approval, they're submitted for your information, and that is somewhat at your discretion whether or not you want to consider this to be a submission of a sketch plat or whether you want that to come back at another meeting. Since they're not voted on, they're not formally approved, it's really to Mr. Corton to determine whether or not that sketch plat is sufficient or whether he wants to make comment on that. The only thing that requires approval formally on an agenda item is a preliminary plat and a final plat. So
So at this point in time, whether we see this sketch plat or not, it can be presented at another meeting as a preliminary.
That's correct.
Mr. Corton, would you like to make comment on what your feelings on that now?
This is the first time I've seen it, so I could comment on it to the applicant, outside of this meeting. I'm fine with that, provide my comments that way. We have talked about, along with our future subdivision regulations, how we would address sketch plats and should they Should they just be administrative, in which people come in and see staff and talk to the city engineer and myself, or should they come directly to you as a commission and then proceed with the preliminary as part of the approval process? It's completely up to you, Mr. Chairman. I could provide my comments to it. This area is not the question area with the future expansion of this. I know that there was a comment that the applicant needs to go in front of the Parks Department with the discussion on parks. This particular area is just a continuation. Any subsequent additions or phases, I would hold off until you get that preliminary done, so I'm fine with either direction that you want to go. So it's really a planning commission matter. If you feel comfortable with commenting on it, just as a procedural one, you're kind of setting a precedent if you just hear one at a meeting, and then it's, okay, I've allowed this, but I didn't allow somebody else. So I'm fine with giving them my comments on staff side, and then it's up to you to decide if you want to hear that today or have them come back as a formal sketch in the future.
We will not hear that today, and we'll give Parks a chance to look at it, and your office to look at it more closely, and that still gives them time to do a sketch and a preliminary all at the same time. So we will not...
And a preliminary at the same time?
Yeah,
Okay.
we will not look at that today.
One item I forgot to...
There'll be a recommendation to Mr. Corton on that.
One item I forgot to bring up is that on this proposed third edition, we have submitted the paperwork requesting annexation to the city attorney on that portion, so just to get that into motion.
On which portion?
On the proposed third edition,
Okay, there's a drawing here that suggests you're going all the way up to 34th. That's not the case, huh?
that is correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, on both the proposed third edition and the annexation, we went up to the center line of 34th.
The proposed third edition is going to go to the center line of 34th?
I'm sorry.
The proposed third edition is going to go to the center line of 34th
That is correct.
or 33rd?
I guess I have it labeled as 34th on,
To the section line?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll clarify that.
Well, I'd like that clarified now.
Yeah,
Is that 33 or 34th? What, I'm not seeing it.
President?
I want to make sure that's correct.
Mr.
I think
President,
it's good that we come back with a sketch plat.
Sure.
I think it is.
Yep.
I do have one
Okay.
question, Mr. Chairman, that I think affects the second, and that is, what's that land use going to be proposed on the north side of 31st?
Residential, R3.
R3?
Yeah.
R3, okay.
Is that correct? R3? I guess I have one question of Ed, if I could.
Yes.
With what we're doing here with eliminating that Block 2 and then being able to come back with the sketch plat and the preliminary plat, what kind of a schedule are we looking at? Would we be, because I pretty much have everything done that I could get turned in immediately.
With respect to your question, the schedule would be, if you get that information to me by the 23rd, I think is my cutoff date for October, then it'd be heard at the October Planning Commission. That would be a preliminary, and then you would come back the next month, which would be in November for final, and then it would proceed to, if all is the recommendations and you still want to move forward with it, then it would proceed to the City Commission at probably the first meeting in December.
Okay. That sound all right? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jackson.
I just need to give you my reactions.
Sure.
I didn't realize you were going all the way up to 34th. And to me, that brings a new element into it, and that is, what's that land use going to be along 34th? I've always, it appears the intentions are that you're going to try to do commercial all the way along 34th, and I'm not so sure that we're not going to want to talk about that.
Okay.
So, if it makes sense in the area you're talking about, maybe, but I think you are bringing another element in that we're going to want to look at and ponder a little bit.
I think, too, if we go back, I think in your very original plans, from the very onset, that was the third phase, that there was going to be commercial, you proposed commercial along 34th.
Right.
And you'd taken care of looking at high lines.
Yes.
Roads.
Yep.
So you've had that on your proposals for quite some time.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes. And I think on the little 8.5 by 11, that's just an updated zoning, but the commercial property along here, none of this has changed with the original proposal as far as the zoning, but.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but I know we didn't formally approve commercial.
No, that's correct.
I've always understood that that's what you guys were going to propose.
Right.
I'm not sure as a community that if you look at 34th, we want to accept the fact that it's going to be commercial from Highway 22 for 2 miles west. And maybe I'll be in the minority in that, but I'm questioning that, whether we're going to have 2 miles of commercial there.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Kova.
I'm kind of confused at exactly what we're doing here today. Are we basically going to vote on eliminating this block too? Is that all we're doing?
No, it's a preliminary plat of, it would be the Meadow Hills their second subdivision. And other than what they presented, they would like to remove that hatched area, Lot 2, out of this. They want to leave that preliminary part and that plat, that zoning, out of the picture.
Okay,
They've got a developer for that who wants to come in and do something else with it, and they're going to leave it up to that person to come in and try to get that particular piece.
So it
either
has
left-
nothing to do with the third edition?
No, not at this time.
It would look similar to the second sheet in that packet that I handed out. That's what the approval would be for the preliminary and final on the second subdivision.
And we've left, the discussions are going to have to come back with it on the third, so you have a chance
Right.
from Parks to look at that.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I can maybe help clarify this matter. They have requested, they came in and talked to me, and they said that they had already spoken to you about their overall master plan, and they already have one phase done. They wanted to come in with the second edition and propose a preliminary and final. I said, you could propose that, but it's completely up to you as a commission if you feel comfortable with that. Normally, you do not do that. However, I understand at times you've done it where you feel comfortable with the overall concept of what they're doing. So they are requesting a preliminary and final. As a commission, you need to decide, are you just going to grant preliminary today if that's where you go, or preliminary and final? Also, they're requesting a rezone as well. So there will be, so you need to have a discussion of, is this just preliminary today or preliminary final? And then obviously have your motion after you take public comments, and then come back with the rezoning of that portion. That would be my suggestion.
I'm comfortable with the way it's stated that we were going to do a preliminary and final plat and rezoning, and that hopefully that the motion will include the removal of Lot 2, and we're dealing just with the second edition here on this property. So, anything else, Mr. Snyder?
No, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I would ask if there's anyone that has any comment from the public would like to make comment on this.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mike Mouse appearing on behalf of Fred Klein, Klein Production Company. We urge that before you approve Cook's Meadow Hills second edition, that you review what you approved in Cook's Meadow Hills first edition. That is, I'm looking at your minutes of March 16th, 2011. It said, Mr. Cook's intent is to file a separate document defining the easement which can specify no trees, no structures, no fences. We've never received that separate document. We find none of public record. You recall the discussion regarding the pipeline is that there would either be a berm on both sides of it or a swale. What has happened instead is they've actually cut into that easement, taking away the lateral support for the pipeline so that if there's a pipeline break, it's not going to come to the surface, it's going to go directly into this subdivision. That's the encroachments that's referred to in your letter. So before you approve Meadow Hills second, we encourage you to go back and require, particularly the document that's specified, and consider those issues as to whether there's going to be, 7 years from now, a pipeline break that goes laterally instead of up. And Mr. Cook is long gone, and these people that own these houses are going to come to the city and say, why did that happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment. Please feel free to come forward.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm Janet Perkle. I live directly in the southwest area that they have in question. I commend Mr. Cortan on this. I agree. I would like to see this master plan is fluctuating and changing. As a adjacent homeowner, I have no idea what's coming down the pike at me. It's changing all the time. I would like to see this whole area master planned. It's being put into the city bit by bit by bit. You're kind of painting yourself into a corner here. We don't know where you're going. And I think the adjacent landowners have the right to know what's coming up.
Thank you, Ms. Perkle. And we'll get you a copy of that. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment.
I guess just a couple of comments on the oil pipeline. It was mentioned that we're supposed to submit a separate document for, the right-of-way or such. The easement is shown on the subdivision plat, which is filed at the courthouse. And I don't know to us, there's not a separate right-of-way document, but that's normally the way where we put utilities and items like this is in a utility-type easement. And I believe that one was specific to the oil pipeline, okay? The other thing was, I don't believe, I'll have to check, but I do not believe we cut into the easement, moving dirt. They did create a swale on top of the earth like we had discussed, but on the extreme north, I guess on the extreme northeast corner, to blend in with the proposed 10th Avenue, there was some cutting on the proposed road, which blended back into the lot. But we did not, and I'll double check, we did not cut into the easement, the oil pipeline easement. And then the other, he was making reference to some documents and such, and there were also covenants that were filed for the subdivision as required by the planning and zoning. Those were filed. So I don't know if there was another one that it was, supposed to be done, but, I believe Mike worked with you on the covenants, and, maybe Ed or Matt could help you with, as far as the clarity on the easement on the plat for the utility pipeline.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Gentlemen, Mike Cook with the developer. Scott, I want to talk to you because I did get a call from James Kramer Monday or Tuesday in regards to what we're doing here. And I think he said he had talked to you that the consensus or the agreement with the park board at this time is going to take cash on the remaining of these particular phases that we're going to do. But then when we come back in with a new master plan, if that's what it's going to take to start tweaking everything, then they want to have a look at what their options would be after that. And that was what he relayed to me.
Can you give us an answer on that, Mr. Kovacs?
As I understand it, we were going to take cash in lieu of land for phases 1 and 2. That's what I recall. And then we had talked about, before we go any further, we're probably likely going to want land for the remaining compensation.
Well, I guess I don't know what you guys had talked previously, but if you talked to James, which again, we had a conversation on Monday or Tuesday, and it was understood we are going up to 34th. And we really don't care, but I guess just to get the confusion out of it, the understanding that him and I had is that for this first go-around of what we're doing, they wanted the cash instead of the land, and when we come in with anything else on a new master plan, then they'd like to have a look at it. And it doesn't really matter to us, but I guess I want to get the confusion straight.
Well, and we need to, but it's my understanding it was Phase 1 and 2, which of course is what is done so far. But now we're talking potentially about the third.
Which him and I talked about.
Okay, and now I have not talked to him in the last couple of days, so I'm not aware of that
And
conversation.
then there were also some confusion with the billing. Evidently, the city billed instead of the park district, and we kind of got that all handled too.
Okay. And we can talk to, and I'll have to talk to James on it, but that was my understanding that the rest of the area, because if we keep taking a little bit at a time and take cash, it will make the piece of property smaller and smaller and smaller as we
Well,
go.
I think his consensus was because of what's happening there with the multi and the commercial, light commercial, that was something that didn't interest you guys anyways, because you didn't want to be in that type of a situation, which is all that's left on the remaining portion we have going up. So when we came back in down where the more of the residential and the multi is where he wanted to look.
And I think that's correct, but I think what we're thinking is that if we take cash for this third, which you're right, that isn't exactly where we probably would want something, but then our percentage is going to keep getting smaller. So, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
So our thought was that once the second was done, we wanted to look at the whole plan, and so that we would get that amount of property based on what's left, and not do the third and then get what's left for the fourth and fifth and whatever might
So
come
at this point in time, I'm going to cut the discussion off on Phase 3. That is a discussion that you're going to have with Parks outside of this meeting, and then bring it here, or Scott will bring it here. But right now, we're not going to hash that out. So we're going to stick to, right now, this preliminary and final plat and rezoning.
Okay.
Phase 2. Is there anyone else who would like to make comment on this preliminary and final plat and rezoning request? Any other comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I don't
Jack.
have any problem with the second edition plat and the reduction in size of it. I think we could improve that, as well as the rezoning request. The issue with the pipeline, I too recall that we made specific, what am I trying to say, requirements. Regardless of what we feel about those requirements, they need to be followed. And, I would hope that staff is not approving any building permits until they're satisfied that those requirements are being followed. Now, the problem with that is that Mr. Cook could sell all his property, and, building permits then wouldn't really affect him. So we need to get some assurance somehow on that from our staff, that those requirements are being followed. I don't think that your third edition is going to go as fast as you probably like it to. I think there are too many questions to be answered.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I'd like to comment about the pipeline. I believe that's a legal issue that has already been settled, and if there's some violation or infringement upon somebody's right-of-way or easement, then the parties involved need to bring that to either enforcement or some judicial system if they have a real beef. But I think the pipeline owner's concern about the safety of the integrity of the pipeline should be his concern. the city should be concerned about the property owners of this property that's developed. And when you have a spill, you can't tell where it goes. And I said that before, but I went along with the consensus of what should be done, and there was a sloping berm on either side of the line that was to be put in. Just for your knowledge, I had a oil leak on my property in January. The oil company didn't notify me. My neighbor notified me a month later. And I really don't care that it happened. And, but I've got to clean it up and plant what I want there. Those things are going to happen. But I do believe people should be aware of it, and when it does happen, they need to be notified right away if there is a problem, whether or not it's done properly, improperly, or you can't predict how much it's going to snow and the oil's going to float on top of the pond and run over on your property. People have to be aware of it as soon as possible so they can take care of it, whether it's the property owner, the oil company, the pipeline owner. There has to be some respect here between all parties of this situation. And then I would refer any comments about that to Mr. Coling, our legal staff, to take a look at those documents if someone really requests it, to see that what has been put in place is followed. That's my comments on this. Anybody else have any comments on this? Mr. Corton?
Not to convolute the waters any more than it is. I researched the information from the minutes and the rest, and it's unfortunate that if that was the intent of the Planning Commission as staff on my side, and we can get an opinion from Mr. Coling on it, it was not placed as a condition that they had to do that. It sounds like it was something that was discussed, and I guess the question for me as staff would be, is it required that we would have to have that documentation recorded? It's not placed as a condition. So as staff, if you don't place conditions on plats and certain things, there may be well intentions of getting things done, but the enforcement of that is difficult to do, unless that is part of your motion that you require that. So based upon the minutes, it's not required. That's my decision. And I'm basing it on that I was not here at the time, and I'm looking at the minutes. That is my interpretation of that. So I guess we would have to see if before any permits are required, that recordation of that easement, as referred in the court, in the letter, would be required. And at this point, it's my interpretation that it's not. But that's my view of it, just looking at the minutes and what I've seen in the documentation.
Thank you, Mr. Corton. Mr. Colen, do you have any comment at this time?
I have not had the opportunity to look back at the minutes of our meeting approving the Cooks First. However, the requirement, as I recall, was that there would be covenants filed and conditions filed on the plat itself. And those covenants were filed by the property owners. The easement for the oil line is indicated on the plat. And it was the intention of this commission and the city commission that be a private right of enforcement, that it would not be a public right of enforcement. The public does not have rights to that easement. That would be a private right of enforcement between the landowners and the oil company individually. It wouldn't be something that we would enforce on a city level. That's a private property matter.
Thank you, Mr. Colen. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment. Please feel free to come forward. Being none, any other comments from the commission? We'll close the public portion of this hearing. This time I'd ask for a motion. We have a preliminary, we're doing this as a preliminary and a final.
Can we do the plat approval and the rezoning in one motion?
Commissioner Jackson, we would have to bring a formal zoning ordinance back. You can't approve the recommendation for zoning here, but that will require city commission approval in order to rezone it as a rezoning ordinance.
Okay, but the recommendation can be all one?
Yes.
Okay. I'll move that we approve the revised Meadow Hills second edition plat and the requested rezoning.
I'll second.
There's a second, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of
Go
clarification. They have removed from the plat, Block 2 is the rezoning. Rezoning doesn't have to follow along plat lines and the rest. Do you want to keep the rezoning as depicted with Block 2?
Thank
For
you.
clarification.
No, the rezoning would be limited to the plat boundaries.
So Lot 2 would be excluded from this
Yes.
rezoning?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, Block 2, yes.
Is that clear for everyone? Thank you. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, recommendation approved. This time, we have a rezoning request. It's to consider a rezoning request from R2 and R3 to R1, R2, and CC for Diamond Acres subdivision. Property is situated southerly of 21st Street East and westerly of 10th Avenue East on approximately 105 acres. This time, I'd ask the party presenting, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dave Kitson representing Diamond Acres subdivision, and I'm here to call for a rezoning.
Any comments you'd like to make on this before we proceed?
I don't think so. But I want to let
Mr. Kitson, do you want to muddy up the waters? I mean, we can't have something go by fast. Muddy it up somehow.
Well said.
Just get it done. We did, I really will comment a little bit on that. Earlier, we had a zoning in here, and the reason we are rezoning because of the shortage of properties in town for CC commercial, and that's why we decided to reset it and come in, and I visited with Ed Creton about this, and he recommended that we pretty much go this way. We thought it was a great idea, so we're presenting it for you guys.
Mr. Chairman, I would concur with that. I had discussions with Mr. Kitson on that. I told him about my concerns that I get on the daily, on a weekly basis of people calling in with lack of commercial space. I thought 21st Street East is appropriate to at least have a designation of commercial along there because we have lack of commercial in the city, and I would recommend approval of the rezone.
Thank you. On how wide is that frontage road on the west end of that CC going over to First Avenue?
That was a standard size, trying to think that's what is it, 40 feet? Or is it, I think it's 40 foot on that. I'm not
And is that going to be a one-way or a two-way, or what is?
No, it's a two-way street on there.
It'll be a two-way frontage road?
Right, and that just runs till 4th. I think we're just a little past 4th there.
Yep.
We'll probably,
It shows it goes all the way to Lot 1. So is there going to be an access on Lot 1 to that frontage road?
right, it comes back to, yes. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Lot 1 on, you mean on the,
On the CC, on
Oh, okay.
the very west edge of the CC on Lot 1, the frontage road adjacent to 21st, it shows it going all the way to Lot 1, but is there going to be access on Lot 1 off of that frontage road?
yes, I believe we'll tie that in there.
Uh,
We'll bring the street
was-
right over to that Lot 1.
Okay.
That would be the only one that's tied into that.
Any other comments, questions for Mr. Kitson? Thank you, Mr. Kitson. This time I'd ask if there's anyone else in the public who'd like to make a comment on this. Please feel free to come forward. Anyone else in the public or on the commission like to make comment? Being none, we'll close the public portion of this. At this time, I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the zoning changes as requested by Diamond Acres.
Been a motion to approve. Is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion?
Just one thing, and I'd just like to thank Mr. Kitson. A drawing like this really is nice. It really helps our job to be able to see
Yeah. I think
what's
he's been
going
working on
on.
this for
a couple of years.
a couple of years.
But having this drawing showing the rezoning
Yes,
is
it
really,
is. It's very
really
good.
helpful.
Thank you. At this time, being no further discussion, is there a, we'll vote, is there, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, recommend to rezone. Thank you. This time, we have a special use permit application is to consider a request from Marquee Property to construct and operate a general office in R3 zoning district on the property described as lots 1 through 3, Block 1, the Country Oaks Estate, second edition. At this time, I'd ask the party who's presenting that, please come forward.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'm Dave Kitson representing Marquee Property, and I'm here to request a special use permit for an office building on these lots.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I provide a comment for you?
Yes, you may.
The only, Mr. Kitson, the only objection that I would have after further review would be the access off of North Oaks Drive, since that's a residential zone to the north side of that. You already have access proposed for Prairie Oak, and then also it looks like off of 21st Street. So you'd already have two access points. Is that third one necessary? I would propose that it would be removed unless you see that it's absolutely necessary. 'Cause
The one to the north?
Yes.
No, we wouldn't have to put that in there.
It would follow along with what our development are whenever you have commercial property, or if you have a commercial use and it abuts against residential, we try to prohibit access off there. You would have sufficient access off of two other points. I don't see that it's necessary, so I would recommend that that would be removed.
Yes, sir, that'd be fine.
You stated this is a general office. Approximately how many people are going to be working at this office?
Pardon?
How many people will be working at this office?
Probably 60.
60 people. Will it be pretty much office work, or is there going to be shipping in and out of here?
No, it's more the style office is more for, what do you want to call it? Counseling offices and things like that.
Okay. Won't be storage of materials?
No.
Trucking?
No,
Parking of trucks?
no,
None of that?
just, they'll probably come in and deliver some office material, paper, something like that, but
And what type of hours would they operate?
I believe they just run morning till evening. I suppose 8 to 5,
Weekends?
pretty much. There, I don't know. I'll try, there might be a few on. I doubt it.
What type of lighting do you have proposed for this facility?
The outside, inside?
Outside lighting?
The outside light, we'll be putting street poles out around the parking lots and around the building will be all lit up. Totally for,
And will that lighting affect the adjacent property owners?
it shouldn't.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
I think you asked a couple good questions. I think that, you know, I know when we rezoned this, there was a lot of question about it, but I think we understood this was going to be the concept, and, you know, I'm okay with that. But I think the lighting issue is important. It should be a low-intensity, what's the right terminology?
Low intensity.
Um,
No, I
but it's
understand
a-
what you're
it's-
saying. Yes, you should have
More
the,
lighting.
Night sky compliant.
Right.
well, dark sky compliant, there's a whole broad range with that, but it could be, we could limit the height to no higher than 10 feet or something. You could have baller lights, at least, you know, maybe 100 feet away, at least for the northwestern parking lot, and then the southern parking lot, southeast, since that's next to the road, they could have the height higher if you want to, but that area there, at least no higher than 10 feet or something like that for
Right.
pole heights.
And then If we approve this, it will say for office use.
The zone right now is R3, so it'd be depicted of
Be
whatever
limited.
the uses are, and which are very limited in scale. So it has to be interior-wise. I had spoken to Mr. Kitson, and that was my concern, to make sure that what he was proposing would work for that. And it's going to be a general office use, medical office use, and those are special use, those are allowable uses in this zone. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just one other comment on that. When they apply for a special use permit for a general office use is a defined term in our zoning code, which refers to administrative and professional offices, and would prohibit outside storage and material storage and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. Any other questions or
I think
comments?
Mr.
Jack?
Cruton's comment about the drive to the north is a good one, too.
Sure.
Can eliminate that.
I personally would like to see the lighting kept at a minimum, so it doesn't affect any other property owner, so that it's not shining on their property. I think we can put in a clause in there that has to be, we have to be very definite about that we don't leave it out. So that can be, because I unfortunately live next to some real tall parking lot lights are shining at midnight when there's nobody in the parking lot, which is very annoying.
No floodlights.
Very annoying.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be subjected to that. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Kitson?
with respect to that, Mr. Chairman, probably my suggestion would be, as part of your motion, would be that the lights not exceed 12 feet high. I think a lot of times the pedestals for that, I think 12 feet's about that height, and and then as staff, we would make sure that the lights would not bleed off or not illuminate outside the property. That they would be depicted inward, and you could have them pointed that way so they show inward towards the parking lot instead of flooding on the adjacent property. So if you just provide a simple recommendation like that, then we'll ensure that as part of their building permit.
Thank you, Mr. Cruton. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Mr. Kitson.
Thank you.
This time I'd ask if there's anyone else who would like to make comment on this special use permit application, please feel free to come forward. Anyone else on the commission wish to make comment? If being none, we'll close the public portion of this hearing, and I would ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms.
I want to recommend the special use permit with the provisions of the lighting, not to interfere with other property owners around.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Would that motion include the elimination of the north driveway also?
Yeah, with the provision that the north driveway would be eliminated.
Okay.
I'll
and
second the motion.
There's been and the elimination of the North Drive. There's been a second. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Recommend approved. This time we have a sketch plat, Hatzenbuehler subdivision located in the west half of the southeast quarter of Section 16 Township, Section 16 Township 139 North, Range 96 West. Okay. At this time, I'd ask the party presenting, please come forward.
Good morning. My name's Terry Fitzik, and I'm representing Kevin Hutzmiller, the owner of the property. And what I understand is we have a meets and bounds legal description, and we'd like to bring this in so he'd like to build a house on that.
Mr. Chairman, I could provide some additional data if
Okay.
this would probably help you out as part of your discussions. I met with the gentleman. After research on this particular property, we found out that it was not part of the subdivision to the south, and it was a remnant left over. Unfortunately, being 1 acre in size, by being a remnant and being left over, it violated our subdivision regulations. So they originally were coming in for a building permit, and as staff, we told them that we couldn't issue one because it was an illegal segregation or illegal parcel. I suggested to them that the zone that they are at, if they had it at 1 acre, that could work since it's rural residential. In the past, it's my understanding that unbeknownst, whenever a property owner buys a property and one or two property owners prior to that where the original segregation happened, subsequent owners have bought it with the expectation of developing, and then all of a sudden this guy gets it, buys the property, feeling it's a legal piece, and then finds out that he cannot develop it, that we've done one lot subdivisions in order to validate the lot. And then they would just provide access, which would be considered a driveway to that. So this is a way, a mechanism, if it's up to, if you feel comfortable with that, to do a one-lot subdivision in order to validate the parcel, in order to be constructed on for a future building.
All right. As far as the lots referred to as on the left and or the east and the west of this property, document number ending in 78 and 62, what are those properties? How are they affected by this? Are they part of another subdivision now, or are they out of it too?
Unfortunately, and that's been a discussion, we've been going back and forth on there with title documents. It's my interpretation that those, both those documents to the left and right are legal segregations as well. They were platted, not platted, they were described in a conveyance document and recorded, not going through a subdivision process, which you could do. Unfortunately, if anybody can draw up a legal description and get it recorded, that doesn't provide any validity to that document, and it's hopefully caught at the building permit stage. So both of those properties to the left and right, I would consider our legal segregations as well. So if they decide to build on them, they're going to have to prove the validity that those lots somehow were vested in, and I see no documentation to that effect. So they may be having, they're going to have their own issues. So, but this is, the applicant only owns the one in the center, and...
Excuse me, that is not true. The applicant owns all three. He bought the outer two, which is 78 and 62, and then 2 years later, he acquired the center one. So, Mr. Hudson-Miller does own all 3 acres.
Mr. Chairman, I need some help here. I did not have a chance to track down what this location is. Can somebody help me understand where this is?
Do you know where the dump grounds is on the south side? It's right east of that, on the other side of the road. Where you turn in to go to the dump grounds, you probably go 200 feet farther south. There's another gentleman that has horses right on the other side. He's on the other side of that limited use road.
You're talking about the C. of Dickinson's dump ground?
Yes, the one on the south side that they used for the tornado damage.
Sure. I think, Mr. Coling, is it possible, would you recommend that all 3 of these be done together? Or Mr. Corton, would you recommend all of these being done together then, in light of the fact that the same person owns all 3 pieces of property?
I can answer that question, Mr. Chairman. I would recommend it makes sense to have them all 3 done together. I had told the gentleman that, if they have no development plans for the ones on the left and the right, that they could just do it for that particular one. They have, I believe the applicant has plans to somehow come back later for the other 2, but
Yes.
that will require an additional subdivision to come through that. What I had told them was that if they do them all as 3 as 1, or just this one in the center that they want to do, as long as they're creating, if it's just a one-lot subdivision, then the access coming to it would be considered a driveway. If they did 2 or more, then it's considered a road, and then they would have to upgrade the roads leading up to it. So a significant investment.
Okay. And how would you access that property?
I talked with Al Heiser at the county about that.
There's a limited-use road that runs north to south now, and they don't plow from the north side off of States, but the gentleman who has the horses on the south end, the county comes in and they plow to, so he can get to his horses. And I got the impression that if he builds the house, to go another 30, 40 feet past there to turn around and come out wouldn't be an issue, but at this time, they have no intentions on making the road better. What is there is what is there.
So there's no expectations from the city or the county?
No,
to do
not from
anything
this owner.
From any county road to the property itself?
No,
Entirely, they've realized entirely up to the property owner?
yes. And I got another, I'm under the assumption, the maps that we looked at, the 78 and the 62 are part of the Valesky subdivision, because they're all highlighted, and all three of those pieces are colored in the map as being R1, and then we find out later on that this center acre is not. It's just a meets and bounds legal description. But according to the maps that you have, they are all colored in that color that represents R1. So,
Yes, Mr. Jackson?
You know, your surveyor might have to do a little research on that, but I don't think we should be approving a plat that doesn't have legal access of some kind. I too think that if there's two adjacent parcels aren't platted, they should be included if it's the same owner. It's simple, and it's going to be a lot less money for Mr. Hotzenbuehler to do the three of them together than to do them separately from a platting standpoint.
will he be required to do a road improvement then if they're all three tied together? So that would change the investment value.
With respect to the question, and that was the quandary, I was trying to find a mechanism. You know, it's unfortunate. This is one of those situations, Gene, in which, you know, somebody buys the property and they're not the originator of the problem. Neither was the person they bought it from, but a person preceding them. So you buy a property in which you had the expectation, and as a city, we're looking at it, it was an illegal segregation. So it's unbuildable. And I'm trying to provide a remedy to do that. If they include more than two lots, then the access leading from any county road would have to be upgraded to some kind of a county road standard because it's not considered a driveway. So that's why a one-lot subdivision was a proposal for it, because it would be considered a driveway. So it's a difficult one. I'm trying to provide remedies, and I'd like to get some direction potentially from the planning commission on which way do you feel comfortable.
Well, and I don't even like to suggest this, but, you know, maybe a private easement is the right thing to do here. I don't know. But I don't think we should approve it without some kind of legal access.
Well, I concur with that. They would be shown that they would have access. That access would not have to be improved. The question.
I'd agree with that.
That's if they include more than two lots, then that access would have to be improved, and it's a significant investment on the applicant in order just to build a building. So I'm trying to find a remedy to the situation without a significant outlay on their end to improve the road that's sufficient leading all the way up to it, which would be cost prohibitive and probably make it so that they would not develop this property.
I see your point. I would like to see the questions answered about really if the documents on the east and the west are really part of the Valesky subdivision or not, and I think they can proceed, get these questions answered, make it a private drive, make it so they can do what they want with it. But this is just a sketch plat, so you've got a lot of time to get those questions answered.
Okay. All right, I'll get together with Ed again, and then we'll try and work out some details, and we'll be back. Thank you for your time, and we can all go have lunch.
Thank you very much. Any other comments on the sketch plat? I think it's pretty foregone conclusion. They'll be speaking with you, Mr. Corton, again. This time, we have a code enforcement report.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, I'll just say it's for information purposes only, and we can move on.
Thank you, Mr. Cortana. Anybody else like to bring anything else before the commission at this time? At this point in time, if there's anyone in the public would like to have a comment on anything from today, please feel free to come forward. We can discuss issues openly. We can't discuss them privately as a group with individuals. Under the open meetings policy, we have to abide by government rules and regulations that are for the benefit of our citizens.
Hi, nice to see you again. Joe Murphy for Target Logistics. And I think the issue, if we can discuss this, is look for some direction from the Planning and Zoning Commission as to where a better location for the proposed use that we suggested this morning would be. I don't know if that's something we could discuss in this forum.
I think we can. We can discuss anything we want to right now. And I'd like to hear some comments from the other commissioners. I think there was a consensus that what you propose is needed.
Mhm.
There was a consensus that that's not the right location, but it is a need. It's a need that the industry in this part of the state needs. We as a city need it. We have an overburden on our properties for residential right now. We have a burden on our educational system for the people at the college to find rooms, find housing even for students. The cost has skyrocketed here.
Mm-hmm.
People cannot afford to come to college here because of the tuition's fine, but the rent is outrageous, and you can't, college students can't even hardly, they look at other places because of that.
Sure.
They're looking at other schools because of that. People are looking to move elsewhere because of that. They're looking to move and build elsewhere because of the costs that have been put upon residential. And there's a need. The oil industry has a real need for workers. We know that. We all benefit from it. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't benefit from the oil industry, just like we do from the agricultural industry or other things that are big in this part of the state. But the location was perceived as not being the right place.
Right.
You've got a very good product.
Thank you.
And I'd like to hear comments from anyone else on the commission that may serve your purpose.
Any direction you can give us would be great. Well, obviously, we'll never know the area as well as any of you will, and we don't want to waste your time, come back with a series of unacceptable choices. And obviously, anything you say, I know doesn't bind the commission, but any guidance you can give us would be greatly appreciated.
I don't think my perception, I don't think traffic is an issue. If that area develops like it's going to, there's going to be residential for the next mile out, 2 miles north, whatever. There's going to be a lot of traffic, a whole lot of traffic. Even if there's a school, there's going to be more traffic. I live 100 and some feet from a public school, 100 and some feet from college student housing, and a church across. Talk about traffic. But you know what? So what?
Right.
They are not a bother. I mean, that's my perception. The traffic is not an issue. Maybe the viewpoint of the people that live around the area, if you could build a big tent, and all they would see is a nice tent or a enclosed area where you hit golf balls or something, whatever, that might be just fine. Or a barn that has cow manure piled up and horses running around attracting flies, that might be acceptable for them to look at. But there's other issues. There's issues about the people that are going to live there, which I find really disgusting because I think oil people work there like anybody else. They're fine, hardworking people. The disparaging remarks about what kind of people are going to be there, the safety of their children, that's a bunch of malarkey. But for some reason, the real issue, if it is the real issue of the location, I think you have to address somehow. I'd like to hear some other comments, really, because I think they've taken their time to...
I'd say a couple things. I expected that question, and I sure don't blame you for asking that question. I think it'd be wrong for us to get very specific in our answer. But I would say this. I would say that quadrant of the city is not the right place to be.
the northwest quadrant.
That's just my opinion.
Your opinion carries a lot of weight.
Secondly, I think you need to look for an area that's more a mixed-use area. You know, that already has a real mixture of use to it. Thirdly, I'd encourage you to maybe go to Stark Development, and maybe Stark Development could help you find a marriage. That body probably have to be careful too, to not give preference to a certain landowner that might make a good sale to you guys. But I think it'd be appropriate for you to work with Stark Development and try to narrow this down a little bit. I'd hesitate personally to get any more specific with you than that, even though I know you'd like us to. But I don't think it'd be right for us to.
I understand your position, thank you. And I appreciate your comments earlier about our company and the need for the product.
You know, I'd add one more thing.
Sure.
Like I said earlier, I know we're going to get opposition wherever you are. It's a reality. And those people will have sincere feelings about it. Our job is going to be to look at the greater good of the community, and back to your comments, because there is a greater good here that we have to look at as we cite this crew camp, or even contemplate the need for the crew camp. There's a greater good for the community, and in the end, somebody is going to sacrifice for that. That's the reality. But I think that's where we are.
And it's the perception of people of the unknown. You could build that across the street from me, it would be fine. You could build it over there in the rodeo grounds of the college, it would be great. And then they could free up housing for their students too. I mean, to me, that would be a fine place. You've got paved roads, access. There's a lot of places, it was me. But today, there is pressure from the community, the citizens here, and an overwhelming objection to it. But that doesn't take away the need. And some of our personal, private things that we would put up with or not put up with or accept, and realize that they're as acceptable, and people living in the crew camp are as acceptable as anyone. So on a personal note, I don't care where you locate, but I can't get specific, but I'd give you a broad brush stroke and look at places that you're not going to find a lot of local opposition. You're going to find some no matter where you go. But there's a perception here that that was not a good spot by the people that live near there. And I do believe that their perceptions are not totally correct. There you have no matter where you go, you're going to have that job to overcome that. That instead of stating this is going to be a zero net effect on the community, it's going to be a positive effect on the community from the time you start till the time you're done with it, whether it be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that this is going to have a positive effect on our community. Any other comments? Anybody else like to give them some information that may help them out?
Mr. Chairman, the only comment I have is, and this is not my opinion, but I received a lot of comment on this before this meeting, and you know, I have to tell you, I didn't talk to anybody that was opposed to a man camp coming in. But almost every comment that I had gotten was they felt it should be further north than where you were at. I don't know if that helps you at all, but that's just basically every comment I got, that's what it was. Further north, closer to Highway 22, for what it's worth.
Thank you. Okay.
Anything else we can help you with?
I don't think so. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the hearing that you gave us today. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I just need to ask the applicant one thing. You know, you can proceed forward. You have the ability, you could proceed forward with the recommendation from Planning Commission for denial. You could still do that. A lot of people end up not moving forward with that. If that's the case, then I need a letter from you removing your application. So
when do you need that letter by?
Whenever you decide. If you want to, I will just put your application on hold so you can have time to deliberate and make your decision. I won't move it forward to city commission until you direct me otherwise.
Well, we'll consider that. I think we have a pretty clear course of conduct, but I want to confirm with my partners.
Okay.
And
Just let me know if your intention is to proceed forward. If it is, then we'll schedule it to city commission with the recommendation from planning commission for denial. Or if you decide to withdraw your application, then I just need something in writing from you withdrawing your application. One of those two I need, but I'll let you know I won't move with your application until I've got communication from you either way.
Okay, thank you.